Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Wednesday, and it's a live stream, episode 59. And as usual, I've got Delboy here with me. And thank you so much, as always, for being part of this live stream. And I'll do what I normally do. Is say, what have you watched, or what have you seen, or anything you want to talk about linked with that.
First of all, I'm sorry I'm a bit late, but I was watching this video, right? I was watching about 5 videos from someone called Steve's Gaming, right? And his videos go on for about 25 minutes, right? And of course, I want to see him win, but he keeps dying, right? And every time that I was urging him on to get a bit further, right? He died again. And it meant that the video went on for about 55 minutes, right? And then I realized it was like 8:05 and I had to do a live stream. And I'm thinking that bloody Steve, right? He gets in my bloody way before I even start getting onto a nice chat stuff. Anyway, enough about that. That's the reason why I'm late. Let me just turn the background off a minute, right? Last week I was talking about I bought a few things that hadn't arrived quite yet, and the most nicest one that you'd like, I don't think anybody in the stream will like it, but it was the 6 Wives of Henry VIII.
Oh,
and
brilliant.
The reason I bought it is because it had Patrick Troughton in it. It's from the 1970s, and he plays what was it, the Prince of Norfolk, who was quite critical at the courts for a ball, if I remember rightly. My history, I didn't really know who Norfolk was. This is the thing where you've got all of these different courtiers, and they mention their names, but you don't quite know what they did. You know what I mean? They might turn around and say, the Prince of Warsaw or something like that. And I'll be going, what has he got to do with Henry VIII? I haven't got a bloody clue. And then you find out, he was pretty critical. He was the one who transcribed the whole of the bloody court scenes and stuff.
Yeah.
History doesn't really tell me too much because they're boring names. If it wasn't, you never knew what the names of the executioners were, did you? You didn't know his name was John Hill or something, right? He was the chief axeman for the whole of the courts or something.
Yeah.
Or whatever. You don't know these names. Anyway, so it was interesting watching this. This was quite good. And because it was Patrick Troughton, somebody told me that this was good, which is The Feathered Serpent, which was a TV show in the 1970s. And he was an evil son of a sod. He was Nazca. His name's Nazca. It's about the Mayans. So it lasted 2 seasons. It's really, 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 really quite good. You can see the production values. This is a kids show. During kids TV. Look at that. Who's that woman in the middle? I'd have gone, flipping heck, what's that going on at 4:40 in the afternoon? She's showing her milk jugs. Anyway, that's what I'd have called them back then or something, I'd have bound sure to have said something like that. Then I was flipping through Sky channels, and something came on that I saw years ago. Forgot all about it. And it was called Goodbye, Christopher Robin. And it tells the story of, of Milne, and that he had a son, and that they used to go into the woods together, and they made up their adventures with poo sticks, and they got the characters Piglet and everything. Of course, the boy grew up, went to war, and before he went off to war, the lad sort of like lost his identity because they only identified him as Christopher Robin, because it was all about his adventures. And then, of course, he got missing in action during World War II. So it tells that story and how it broke. Milne. So it's a really good film. I mean, if you like World War films, what was going on, and a bit of history in regards to children's characters that were entertained people, after the war, and what are beloved characters, like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and all of those. If you want to know about those writers, and all of that sort of stuff, then, you need to watch these things. I don't know if I said I watched this last week or not. I think I might have said it turned up, and that was Starman. And I watched it again. It really is a forgotten classic, I think. And I say it's not a hidden gem because it's well known. It's just nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about Starman. And yet, it's the only John Carpenter film I really know where it had a TV series. You know what I mean? It must have garnered something. You know, and it really is a nice film. It's okay, it's not an 18, and it's, you know, and hasn't got all the gore and all of that sort of stuff, and a lot, but it's got some violence in there, and it tells the story really about how we sent out into the universe a welcome message. Yeah, come to Earth. You know, we're nice people, we are. And then when they get down here, we got bloody helicopters and everything shooting at them. You know what I mean? It's like, what the hell was all that about? I mean, even I'd be confused. You know what I mean? What's all this about? He said, come to us. We've come along. What are you going to do? Shoot at us? Thanks very much. Cheers. Yeah, we'll come again. I can't wait for my next holidays. You know what I mean? So that's quite good. Obviously, the John Wayne stuff is continuing to come through. For a few dollars more has turned up. It goes with my A Fistful of Dollars. There's only the good, the bad, and the ugly to go to finish the trilogy. It is the slightly more expensive one. I don't know whether that's going to affect the numbers, because if I was to order the 3 films, I'd probably order the good, the bad, and the ugly first. It's the one that's the most revered. So I take it that one's going to be heavily pre-ordered. So that's the one that I'm the most worried about. But same quality of picture with this and sound. I think it's probably the best version that's out there. Tons of extras, an entertaining film. I tell you what, you'll go away humming the little watch tune, right? That's heavily in this film. You know, the villain's got a little pocket watch that plays a little chimey tune, and you'll be humming that. If you hear that once, you'll be humming it for around about 5 weeks. No word of a lie. It'll be an earworm in your head. You can't avoid it. There's nothing to say about this other than it's a classic film. It really is. If you want your westerns, or you just want a good tale, get the film. It's like you might not be into Dirty Harry films, right? Dirty Harry's a great film. You know what I mean? If you watch it and you watch it with new eyes, you might have a different interpretation of it from when you first watched it. A lot of people ask me what it is, and I'll turn around and say, do you know what? I even felt when I was watching it that San Francisco was a character in the film. The more I watch it, the more the whole landscape of San Francisco seems to be like a character in it. Like eventually when we watch Star Trek, we think of the Enterprise as a person. If you didn't have the Enterprise in it, it's not a Star Trek episode. Christ, you can't have Star Trek without the Enterprise. That's why when the third film came out, and it was the search for Spock, and the Enterprise blew up, we all felt lost. It was like, wow. Yeah. That was the original Enterprise that was only refitted. It was just refitted. So it was still the original one from all those long ago. And he blew the damn thing up. And you're going, wow, that's loss. So when you see San Francisco and all of that sort of stuff, it's a character. You got to think of these things as characters and stuff. And the last thing, I don't know if anybody's done this. Anybody who knows me probably knows I listen to a lot of Jerry Goldsmith. And I've got Jerry Goldsmith scores to films I've never even seen. Now, I don't know if anybody else has bought soundtracks to a film you've never even seen. But I was going in and I saw the CD. It was called Rudy. And it's by Jerry Goldsmith, you can see, right? And I haven't seen the film. So I purposely went out to see what this film was about. Right? And I thought I wouldn't like it. I'll read it out what it said. It says, Rudy is a 1993 American biographical sports film directed by David Anspaugh. It is an account of the life of Daniel Rudy Ruettiger, who harbored dreams of playing football at the University of Notre Dame, despite significant obstacles. It was the first film that Notre Dame administration allowed to shoot on campus since Newty Rockne All-American in 1940. In 2005, Rudy was named one of the best 25 sports movies of the previous 25 years. So it's got a pedigree. The film premiered in the Toronto International Film Festival in 1993 and was released in the United States in 1993. The script was written by Angelo Pizzo, who created Hoosiers, who was also the director of Anspaugh. The budget was $13 million. It got $22.8 million. There's a lot of stuff here about who's in it and so forth. It looks like it took 10 years to get off the ground, all because of where the setting was going to be. In reality, coach Dan Devine had announced that Rudy would dress for the Georgia Tech game during practice a few days before. The dramatic scene in which Rudy's senior teammates laid their jerseys on Devine's desk in protest never happened. So it's talking a lot about this. The film was a closing night gala at the Toronto International Film Festival. Rudy premiered primarily positive reviews from critics. Robert Egbert wrote that the film has a freshness and an earnestness that gets you involved, and by the end of the film we accept Rudy's dream as more than simply sports sentiment. It's a small but powerful illustration of the human spirit. There you are. So all I did was I just picked up a soundtrack that was on my side. Never seen it before. About bloody time I saw this. I've listened to this music, right, and I've never watched the bloody film. I watched it. It wasn't a type of film that I'd normally watch because I don't understand that American sports type stuff. But the character acting was spot on, and it's so emotional. Yeah, it's almost like watching those baseball films, that Robert Redford's done, and all that. It's the character is the reason you watch it, because you know that somebody's dying of cancer or something, and you get involved in it. And his whole golden spot was that he wanted to get a home run. It's like watching Babe Ruth, right? You hear the name Babe Ruth in baseball all the time, right? If you ever watch John Goodman's rendition of Babe Ruth, right, you'll see so many characteristics that you didn't think were part and parcel of Babe Ruth. He sounded like he was a gentle giant. That everybody loved him and that. But I tell you what, he had a horrible temper. He made things awkward for a lot of people, but it doesn't take away from the legend of who he is.
No.
And these are the things that you need to sort of like watch. Sometimes you need to distract yourself and you need to watch something that's outside your comfort zone. And I did that with Rudy and I came away happy. That's pretty much it for me, matey. I'm sorry I talked a little bit there.
It's okay. No, it's good. You've got more to talk about. Oh, dear. Right. So I've not watched as much, I'm afraid, because I've not been well at all. On Friday, they took a swab from my leg. I felt really bad on Friday. And the swab they took found that I'd got cellulitis again. I've had cellulitis. Cellulitis is when if infections get into your wounds, which I've got in my legs, then they can become quite dangerous if they get into the bloodstream and you start to feel absolutely awful. So they put me on some antibiotics, and I've been taking these antibiotics, which I hate taking because they make your stomach cramp, but I've got to take 4 of those every day. So I'm feeling better, but still not, to be honest, I'm still not feeling brilliant. But it makes you, you don't want to do much at all. You kind of, I don't know. It's almost like saying you're depressed almost. You just have no enthusiasm for anything and your appetite disappears. It's like your stomach just doesn't want to take anything to eat. So I have got a bit better now, I feel, but it's still not totally gone. I'm still taking these tablets. So it has affected what I've watched. Plus, I had my birthday as well, which is a real bugger that I wanted to celebrate it more. I did reasonably well with it. And my son...
Was it? Oh, hang on. It was your birthday?
Yeah, on Monday. I'm trying to think. Monday, yeah.
See, you learn these things, don't you?
Right? Yeah, I was 65. If you want to know the age, I was 65.
Yeah. Shall I tell you how I knew about it? Right, I'll tell you how I knew about it. Right. It was on Facebook, TikTok. It was on Twitter. It was all over YouTube. Every advert that came out for an hour kept turning around and saying, "Hey, go and watch this premiere. It's my 65th birthday, all you bastards. Come and have a little look." Right. I couldn't move without knowing it was your bloody birthday. But no, it's all right. It's all right. Carry on. It's all right.
Anyhow,
was it really your birthday? Oh, right. Yeah. Many happy returns. Sorry, I forgot to put that in. Yeah, go on.
I'm trying to think what. Yeah. So, what? Okay. See, I've got lost already. Yeah. So, my son bought me a takeaway, which was really nice, and that helped quite a bit on Monday. So that's nice. But I'm still not feeling, I say 100%, but it's better than it was. But I've had it before, and one time I had it, I had to go into hospital, so you always worry about how bad it's going to go. But fortunately, it hasn't gone. It's so easy. I pick up infections so easily, and I have to be very careful when they come and change all the dress. They really have to make sure that everything is sterile and everything, it's so susceptible to any germs or anything going in my legs. So that's a negative side. But what have I actually watched? First thing I'll say that I watched this. These are only what I've watched probably yesterday and today.
Go on. Tell me where that came from. Go on.
Well, it's one I bought. You can't do this for the York Joe.
Jesus Christ! What, you actually bought something?
Yeah,
you're from Leeds. You don't buy nothing.
This one was recommended by Jamie Muckman Movies.
That git. Yeah, I know him. Yeah, he's a bearded sod, isn't he? He tells you about all these films, because he's a rich little one. Shit. Yeah, go on.
So I'm just putting low. Yeah, Jamie. This is a Korean film, and it's a thriller, and I absolutely loved it. It really engaged me totally. It's absolutely wonderful the way it goes, like a roller coaster ride. Watching this, absolutely loved it, and that I picked up on a DVD. It was really cheap, and really pleased with that. And then one of my birthday presents that I did manage to watch. The other one I haven't watched again, but I'll probably next week I can show other one. But I did show this, and this is this one. It's a 4K of the War of the Worlds, and then with it we've got When Worlds Collide, which is on a Blu-ray. And War of the Worlds looks absolutely fantastic in 4K. It's a great film. I think
me and Denny discussed War of the Worlds.
Yeah, I'd love to have seen this. I know Denny mentioned it as well. The Victorian era one, the H.G. Wells vision of it being in Victorian times. It would have been great, but it's still a very enjoyable film. And
yeah, but do you know the thing that's in contention with that? Nobody sort of really answered it. It starts off just like the just like the Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds with a narrated, just like it does in the book as well, right? About scientists and looking into the skies and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we have all that stuff.
During the panning shot, it then shows you a distant image of Mars. Right?
Yeah.
And in the older versions, the color is different to the one that's in the 4K version.
Ah, the color, yes. Yeah, I've heard you mention that one.
And it's not mentioned. Why is it that this version's got a different color than the other ones? Mars is supposed to be red and all of this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah, and all the modern ones are this color and all that sort of stuff. We didn't know if it was, the color transfer, but apparently it's been like it even in the on certain DVDs.
Yeah,
it seems very much like it's how it's restored or how it's transferred. Whether you've got an internegative copy of it or whether you've got the negative version of it, because they would come back with different color schemes because there would be a different color palette to the film. It's a very rich color, but I bought those individually on 4K. They cost me an awful lot of money. The War of the Worlds one has got a lenticular cover. Lenticular slip came from that place where I got my Martian Chronicles from. It cost me like 75 quid,
And then I came along and bought it.
He came along and said, "Yeah, I've just bought it for 20 quid." And I went, "Yeah, thanks, you bastard. Yeah, cheers." It's just what I want to hear, isn't it? Right? But it didn't bother me. I wanted a high definition version, and I got a good high definition version. But that is a pickup and a half because both are on are in that case, and we must remind ourselves it's about the film, not the packaging, not the content.
That's right, exactly.
It's the film, right?
Yeah.
If you grow to love that film and you want the most deluxe version, go and get it. But don't look at something like, I'm going to buy the deluxe version and I hope I love it later on, right? You really should do it the other way around. Grow to love it and then buy the deluxe version. We used to have the luxury of that in the 80s and the 90s, but we don't have that luxury now because if you don't buy the luxury version now, you find it goes out of print and you're shit out of luck, and you'll never get it. And it's that sticker shock that you get because it's like 50 or 60 quid, and then you've got buyer's remorse if you didn't buy it.
Yeah.
Now tomorrow, just to give you an instance of that, I believe this is not related to films. It's about games. The Switch 2 comes out. Right, it's Nintendo's new console. They haven't had a new console out for 5 or 6 years. They heavily advertised this thing back in January. Everybody was going, "Oh, I'm not buying that. 400 and 500 quid for a game console." Blah 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 blah. Right. All this week, you can't move from saying, "We're out of stock of this. If you've pre-ordered it, great. If you haven't pre-ordered it, you've got no bloody chance," etc., etc., etc. And everybody, including, the missus, are turning around and going, "Oh, I missed out. I cancelled my pre-order. I can't get it now. Blah, 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 blah. I should never have done that." This is pure little snippets of people's worlds saying that they want it, where the majority of the world will be going, "I don't give a shit." Right? But they make it out in the media that it's a huge thing. Everybody's really upset that they can't get a Switch 2. No, not everybody is upset they can't get a Switch 2. Some of the gaming community, maybe 80% of them, are a bit upset, right, that they can't get a Switch 2. But I tell you what, if I told my mum, did you want a Switch 2? Because I think you're going to be upset. She's 82. She'd go, "What's a Switch?" The only Switch I know is how you turn the lights on, right? She ain't knowing what a game console is. It does my head in. It makes it sound like it's bigger than it actually is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's another thing that just annoys me. Anyway, rant over. Carry on.
It's good value because you get two films, and you know me, I like me value for money, and so you get the War of the Worlds in 4K, but that one's in Blu-ray. But it's okay. When Worlds Collide it's a good, enjoyable 50s
classic film,
sci-fi film. It's I love sci-fi films of this era. It's a golden age. I use that phrase But it is
the day the Earth stood still, and all of this Island Earth.
Yeah,
They're all
just so many good films
fantastic.
of this. I mean, nowadays some people will say, "Oh, they look a bit out of date," totally. But to me, it doesn't matter. It's of that era. You just accept it of what it is. I mean, like in this with the space craft that they go in, it's supposedly like the Noah's Ark. It's just some of the stuff in there.
Do you know what? It's been a while since I watched it. That's the one with the guy that funds it all. He's in a wheelchair.
That's right. Yeah.
And he's there going. He's the most evilest, nastiest bastard.
He gets his comeuppance.
He gets his comeuppance. I'm not going to ruin why he gets his comeuppance.
He does.
But everybody, I can imagine everybody in the 50s and 60s cheering and going, "Yeah, you didn't get nowhere, did you?"
Yeah, I really think this is really enjoyable. It makes you appreciate why you love these kind of science fiction films. Science fiction is great the way it's evolved over the years, and this is a taste of what it was like in the 1950s.
Yeah,
and I think that's why I love science fiction so much. It's like horror. They evolve as films, the type of films that we look at. And I love that. But you can't say that about all films. It's true. I mean, whatever genre, drama films and whatever, they reflect that era. And these reflect the 1950s of that time. So I really enjoyed that. I think that's it, really. I haven't really watched anything else.
Oh, you haven't got round to watching your Elephant Man yet, then?
No, I'm looking forward to watching that again. I've seen it a lot of times, but I've never seen it in 4K. So everybody says it looks really good in the black and white.
It is. I've got it twice as a steelbook, right?
Yeah,
and it's buried. It's buried, right, amongst all my cases. I don't know which case it's in, right? And it was going to be given to a friend, and I never got round to finding it again, right?
Yeah.
And when you put it up, I went, "Oh, the stupid sod! I could have sent mine." And then I thought to myself, "Do you know what? I'm glad I didn't say that you could have my copy, because I let the person down that I was going to give it to the first time around. We can't find the damn thing, but in my collection, it says I've got it twice as a steelbook. I do remember buying it twice,
and you can't find it.
So I know I have got it. It's just it's in two different crates somewhere.
Yeah,
in this bloody magical mystery tour house that I live in. You know what I mean? It's probably under the hidden security in my garage.
Your famous garage, yes.
Yeah,
definitely your famous garage. I mean?
Probably in there somewhere. I am looking everywhere around the house. It's in the garage. Right, so you'll have a treat when you watch that.
I'm looking forward to it. It's a film I've seen over years quite a lot. I did see it when it came out at cinema, and just fell in love with it.
We all have our opinions of the director. I mean, he is a weird director.
But he's done Dune. Anybody that's done Dune,
rest in peace. I mean, for God's sake, he did some great stuff for cinema. But I would probably consider, the Elephant Man to be, top 3.
It's just one of those films that he's caught the atmosphere so well. It's full of atmosphere.
Well, the first thing he did right was getting Anthony Hopkins involved.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, for a start.
And you do feel that you've gone back to that era. It doesn't feel. It feels like you really are part of that era. It's got the details there, and it's like he's looked at it and knows exactly what he wants when he puts the cinematography, I suppose you'd call it, but it's there. All the details are there.
But it's dank and dark. I mean, I remember seeing how good the quality was when there's a very low light scene. They go to see John Merrick in a sort of like cellar environment. He says, "Oh yeah, come with me. Come and have a little look."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And honestly, you could think this was Oliver or something. You know, there's a little lad there and all of this sort of stuff. The guy's there saying, yeah, look, he's over there. If you've got some money, I'll let you take him into your hospital, blah, blah, blah. Tries to peddle him.
Yes.
You think to yourself, why is it, therefore, that people keep telling me that when you've got low light and film stock, you get grain? Yeah, I'm watching this, and it's pristine.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's dark, which means it's low light and all of this sort of stuff. But what you got to remember, it's black and white. Right? Black and white's handled different. Right?
Yeah.
If you were to film that in color, you'd get grain.
Yeah.
You'd see it, right? It's in the air. But black and white, it basically sort of like filters out that a little bit. You know, it's weird how how to explain it. But this is why I was saying, don't be put off by watching black and white films.
Never, ever. No.
You're missing out on a multitude of fantastic cinema that goes back. You know, that golden age, those 100 years.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all you had.
Yeah.
And yet everybody was entertained and people still invested in it. And we're now at the point where, you know, we can watch all these things in such high resolutions and such superior sound. It all comes from that money.
Yeah.
That poured in, those people that were watching flick screen photography and what the butler saw and all that sort of shit, where it all came from. You need to understand that background.
I mean, the love that people put into restorations, they're going through every cell of the film. They go through it. I mean, you imagine the work that is involved in the restoration of these films, and it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
I also look at it like this. I do understand that things are not like they were for me, right? And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. When I went to see Robin Hood, the cartoon, at the cinema, and when I went to see Meteor at the cinema, and even Condor Man, right?
Yeah, that comes up every week.
Right. I knew that when I went to see that film, the only way I could see it again is if the cinema bought it back.
Yeah.
There was no way of me watching this film. It takes 5 years for a film to be shown on TV.
That's
no
right.
idea if the cinema, if the TV studios would even buy the film that I like, because just because I like it, don't mean that somebody else likes it, right? It's got to sell well, right? There was no such thing as video recorders, right?
Yeah.
I therefore had to watch and scrutinize that film, because if I missed anything, that was it.
Yep.
I had no chance of watching it again unless I paid my own money, and I was a 7-year-old, so that was not likely to happen. So the people now that grow up, they're spoiled. I look at it, they are a spoiled lot.
Yeah.
They've got thousands of channels to watch, all of that sort of stuff. Right, I think somebody's knocking at the door, so I'm going to have to go. But that's my little rant over on that. Just remember, guys and gals, we come from a time where I think we appreciate films a lot more. And I think that the reason we appreciate films a lot more is purely because we know that if we missed something, we missed out.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think we scrutinized and watched things and appreciated things a lot more than you do now, because now you can dislike something without even seeing it. And if somebody turns around and says, "Oh, well, I liked it," you could look at it again, and you probably don't have to pay a penny to see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Back in the day, if I didn't like a film and somebody said go and watch it again, I'd have to fork out another £5 at the cinema. Go and bloody see it. There was no such thing as owning your own copy.
Well, one of the reasons I joined,
I'll see you in a minute because somebody's knocked at the door. All right.
I'll carry on. One of the reasons that I joined sort of film clubs, because they used to, I had them at the university, but also within the town at the cinema, you'd get these film clubs. So after hours, after the sort of features had finished, you could have these late night showings of films. And I think they still do these special showings, but then they were so great that these groups booked the films that they wanted, and you'd also have like seasons about films. Like, as I always remember, one where you had like banned films. So they showed films in that particular era that had been banned or had problems. Things like Original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Straw Dogs, the horror film by say this is where you need Delboy. The House on the Left. That's it. Last House on the Left. Films like that. Wes Craven. That's it. We got there. Wes Craven. Films of his that were banned or considered very difficult. You could actually get to see them, which was absolutely great. Absolutely loved it. And also then you could also see sort of foreign art house films, I suppose they were. But I always remember seeing 1900, which absolutely fascinated me, 1900, because it was the story about the rise of fascism in Italy. And I think that's the one with Burt Lancaster in. So you had these foreign films with sort of Hollywood stars in. And you had a chance. You would never have seen it. It was in various parts. It's a massive... I think it could be in 2 or 3 parts. I know it's certainly in 2 parts. It could even have been in 3 parts. But there were long films. But I was totally absorbed, and I kind of fell in love with them, all these kind of films, because they're the films that you wouldn't have seen otherwise on TV. It's like opened another world of cinema that was not on the mainstream. And that was the beginning, I think, of an interest in that there were a lot more to film than just going to see a Hollywood film. And certainly the university helped a lot in that, as well as the one at the town, that you were able to see these films. And also older films that didn't get shown as much. It was good to see, a lot of, like, say, bogey films. A lot of, everybody normally gets Casablanca. There was like things like The Big Sleep, which I absolutely still talk about and love. You got a chance to see films like that, I thought it was great. It really fired my imagination, I think, of why I wanted to know more about films. And of course, as years have gone on, you start to look and think, I don't know, I watch enough world cinema, and that's another area that I'm sort of exploring a bit more now than I used to. But it's all fascinating that and as I say, independent filmmaking, you suddenly realize that no, Hollywood is not the be all and end all of film. And that was quite a revelation to me, because you kind of fed all that what you were in those days, because you was watching the TV, and the TV was your source. BBC Two occasionally might have films that were considered a bit more obscure. There was that Movie Drone series that they had, this Alex Cox Movie Drone, and that was quite a revelation.
Movie Drone. I heard the word movie. Hang on, I heard the word Movie Drone. What's that about?
Yeah, I was talking about access to discovering that the world of film was much wider than you actually thought it was.
I've talked about that for bloody weeks. Nobody says a word about it. You talk about it.
I mentioned that, but I was talking in context of everything. But that was an important program contributing to saying that, look, the world of film is much wider than you might think, because the thing is, we all see Hollywood. Hollywood was like the thing. But then you suddenly realize, no, it's not. there's the world of film, and there's independent films. There's films that are from other countries, that people, the German, the French film industries, and now the Asian film industry, when you're looking at Asian films. So you've got a whole development, and this is a great era to be in many ways. The fact that we've got access to all this.
I'll tell you what Alex Cox taught me. He taught me that sometimes you'd go and see a film and you'll miss the whole point.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And he'll explain what that point was. And then he'll introduce the show and turn around and say, now watch this film with what I've just told you in knowledge that I've just told you about it. Right.
Yeah.
And it opened my eyes, because then when I watched it, I went, oh, I get it now.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And he showed such classics like Phase 4 and Andromeda Strain and all of these. And I was going, well, I thought I knew what those films were about. But then when he told you, oh, Phase 4's all about this. And I'm going, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. There I was thinking it was just a bloody creature film where bloody ants were attacking you. Right. Nothing like it. No. And all this sort of stuff. And you then open it. It opens your eyes to something. Sometimes you have to have somebody slap you around the face and say, don't be stupid. It's about this.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is why English teachers get, for years and years and years, have studied books and you read the same ones over and over again, like Of Mice and Men and all of that sort of stuff.
It's always the same ones.
It's because people even now have read it and didn't get the hidden meaning.
Yes.
About it. Oh, this film's all about race and all of this sort of stuff, right? You go, oh, was it really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that, Oh, right, that sort of thing. You just saw it for the character. You just saw it for the characters that were in it.
Yeah. Because from all that, you start to think, oh, I ought to look into films a bit more, find out about directors, find out more about actors, find out about the styles of film. And it opens a whole new door, doesn't it? And you think, oh, I wouldn't mind seeing that film. Where can I see that film? And in those days, it wasn't easy. You couldn't you'd read about them, but you'd think the best way, I thought, well, is to join sort of a group, that would do these films after the the normal ones had been screened. We could take over the film theatre and they'd show these kind of films. But that was your only source. I mean, nowadays we've got so many sources. I can just get my phone out and look. Oh, yeah, such and such a film. That looks interesting, and you can then try and follow that up, and you're able to hopefully see it. Though that's not true on everything. There are sometimes films you look up and there's not even a DVD release, but you've got a lot more opportunity to experience film nowadays. It's a great era to be in, really, the amount. But this, of course, opens the question. We've come every week to it, I think, which is the streaming, which, it's always better to own your own copy, because you're not going to get all these films on streaming that are a bit more obscure or a bit more seen as obscure. You on streaming, you're going to get more films that are more mainstream. You're going to get more mainstream films.
There's another thing that affects gamers, right? We've known about this problem ever since the early days of arcades, right? You're a kid, right? You walk into an arcade. There's all these machines making blink plonk noises and all sorts of fire shots and everything, right? Your mum gives you 50 pence and says, "There you go, blow whoever's heads off you want."
Yeah.
The trouble is, you can't see the wood for the trees. So much choice. Which one do I go on? Right? A streaming service then comes along, offers you all these pictures and all you've got is the title of it, the living dead, the dying dead, they're the dead, right? You're going along and you go, I tell you what, by the end, by 30 minutes of looking, I bet you any money you come across one that you've already seen and say, sod it and watch that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I
It
get
is
you.
because you can't see the wood for the trees. You
Yeah.
don't. There's so many titles that sound like each other, and you're going, I'll just watch something that I've seen already. I'm going to bed early, and I'll have to think about a film that I haven't seen and purposely poke at it. But that's the problem. That's the problem with streaming. You don't go into a cinema that's got 10 screens, right?
Yeah.
And you can choose from 3,000 films.
Yeah.
It's just 10, right?
Yeah.
That is your limitation, right? You come home and you're going, I've got 2,500 films here. I've got a frigging clue.
Yeah, actually, what you said is true. I've done that. I thought, I'll go on Amazon Prime and see if there's something I want to watch. And you end up about half an hour. You've wasted half an hour going through Amazon Prime.
And then you watch something you've already watched.
Yeah. It was the first thing you saw. It was the first thing possibly that came up on screen. And you've wasted all that time going through all these films and you're going to the first one.
Yeah. Or the other thing that you do is, apparently this is the 10 top things that are being watched at the moment. Right?
Oh,
you go through 2,000, right? And you go, I watched the number one thing that everybody's watching at the moment, right?
Yeah.
And you're going, what a bag of shit that was.
Exactly.
Did everybody that watched this turn around and say, hey, everybody was watching it, but they were all saying what a bag of shit it was.
Yeah.
It's because it's paid for somebody to put that up there and say it's the number one.
And what's worse is if it's straight away once you've got into the film that it's a made-for-TV film, or it's one that Amazon Prime have got made for themselves. There's a massive difference to me. You can just feel that difference in that's not proper. I'm going, it's not a proper film. I want a proper film. I don't want this stuff. And there you are. So choice, it's an interesting idea. Streaming, it may seem on the surface has brought more choice, but it hasn't always, has it?
No.
It hasn't brought as much choice
I call it can't see the wood for the tree syndrome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can't.
Because, you just get fed up of doing it. I do.
Too much choice and too much cheap cack. Hiding the hidden gems that are really good. Yeah.
Yeah. There's nobody there to pull them out and say, it's not like that, is it? There's not a pull out.
We need a filter like somebody coming out with a movie drone again for terrestrial TV.
Yeah.
To tell us these are the films that are coming out this week.
Yeah.
And have an honest review about them.
Yeah.
Right? Like I know that Simon Mayo still does his radio thing and all of that sort of stuff, and it's on YouTube, and there is stuff that you can do, but I don't think it's enough. We knew exactly what to watch for about 3 weeks in advance when film 77 was on with Barry Norman or whatever it was. We knew exactly, right? Now I can't even tell you what was released on Monday for this Saturday this week. You know what I mean? At the cinema, I just don't have that outlet. And if you're not going to the cinema picking up a book that tells you the upcoming films, or you see the trailers or something, right? Because you purposely went to the cinema, it must be quite difficult because I lose track of what's coming out. I mean, I know that in July, the Superman and Fantastic Four being released within a week of each other.
Yeah.
Right. I know that's a highly contested thing. I think even Empire magazine are bringing out 2 copies of the book, one with a Fantastic Four cover and one with a Superman cover, and you could choose which one, which I'll tell you what is a great marketing gimmick, because if you buy Empire magazine, you'll buy both covers, won't you? Because you're not having one without the other. So you're buying it twice. They ain't stupid, these people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Two blockbusters. I know. I'll get into the act. I'll come out with 2 different covers. Yeah.
That's right. Oh, they all do that. Yeah. Money.
Thanks very much.
It's all about the money.
We're going to Barbados in July, everybody.
Yeah. And there's people who'll buy every variation of it. But I mean, if you're a a big fan of something, that you end up buying every edition and every single thing connected with that. They know that. They're waiting for you. They're rubbing their hands. Yes.
Oh, they are. I reckon they all come from Leeds.
They're all going, hey, that Delboy, let's do this. Let's get him again. Let's have 3 versions on Steelbook, and then we'll have a super extra special edition on Steelbook as well.
Oh, I know. Look, let's bring out Empire magazine Steelbook edition.
That Delboy, we know. Yep, we know it.
Let's get Eagle Moss to come out with a bi-weekly magazine on Steelbook. Steelbooks. Every 2 weeks, a Steelbook is being released every 2 weeks. The first one is $1.99. The second one is
$7.99. And then it costs you 20 quid.
From then on, it's $49.99 every 2 weeks, and there's 1,000 issues for you to get. Yeah, thanks very much.
They might do that.
At the end of it, you've got a picture of the Starship Enterprise on the spines.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you can't miss. Because you can't miss anything out. You've got to have the whole.
That's the other thing they use. That's the other thing they used to do, isn't it? And when you've got the whole lot, the spines make up this big picture, right? And you miss one.
Oh yeah.
Fuck's sake. When I put them on the shelves, either it doesn't fit on the shelves because it goes like 80 books along or something, right? or you're missing one and it's out of stock and they never send you the missing one.
No.
Thanks.
No. That's yeah.
80 weeks I've been doing this, you bastards, and they missed one, weren't you? I was a subscriber. You said I wouldn't miss a copy. You lying toe-nags.
It's a con. But do they do as many of those weekly things now? Because
Eagle Moss went bust.
Magazines are going out.
Eagle Moss went bust during the about 2 years ago, bring out the Enterprise in parts.
Oh, wow.
And their product then had to be rebought by another company, and that company, I think, had to help the people that were halfway through building the Enterprise to help them build theirs because it was the same molded parts.
Yeah.
And I think Eagle Moss then got their name back. They were bought as a brand.
Yeah,
they came back. But as far as I know, they were gone for a number of years. But you will still see now that building a Dalek from scratch and building a Cyberman from scratch and building a DeLorean from scratch and all that sort of stuff. You still see it, but they're not always Eagle Moss anymore.
No.
But I think Eagle Moss is still around. But they did go buzz. There was uproar. It's like, what? So we're 79 issues in of a 150 issue thing.
Yeah.
And we've gone bust. Where do we go? Where do we go?
Exactly. Yeah. You could people saying, I want the money back. And
then the receivers are going to turn around and say, you've gone bust for a reason. They've got no money.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is their argument would still be, but they kept showing a finished model of it. So they've obviously got the molds or something, or they got the parts ready to come out.
Yeah.
So sorry, I don't accept the fact that I can't get my ship finished.
Yeah.
I'm bugger the magazine. I just want this damn thing finished.
People want the model. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Also, we're not stupid. The internet now has shown that it was done in America first. They got all theirs, and then they released it over here because proof of sale. So we know that the product worked, and that's why people were building it over here, is because they saw the finished product and they got the reviews of the people that were buying it weekly over in America. Right? So when you get halfway through and then they go bust, and you've got the Americans got all theirs, the Americans were going, I got hours. Fuck you. You go, oh, thanks. You know, I'm spending $9.99 every 2 weeks on this thing, and you know, cheers for that.
Right, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll get on with comments.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the bell, by the way, from my sister. So
okay, so let's start off with Steve's Gaming Part 2. Hi guys, late again. Us late.
Now do you know what I say to? Do you know what I say to that? You should have got here earlier then. Oh, you're not talking about yourself. Oh, sorry. I thought he was talking about himself there. He just says, hi, guys. I'm late again, I thought that said. Yeah. I'm late again. Yeah, wow, you should get here earlier, shouldn't you? He started on time. What about
you? Si says, evening gang. Hello, Si. Welcome.
We're a gang now. We're the Palm Gang.
Yeah. And then we've got Tony. Evening all. Evening, Tony.
Good evening. He can start off.
Yeah, it started. We've got Jim Jam saying, well. Oh.
Or should I call him Steal Our Thunder Jim Jam? Because he started the stream before we did.
How we doing, gang? And he says, we're all a 24-hour party people. Oh, God. Isn't that some film as well?
Unless you're 65 and then you go to bed at 9.
Yeah. So, what have you been?
Right, I've got to go back in a bit.
On Rewind TV, Del. Well, he's just gone off. So I'm sure when he comes back, he might just talk about that Rewind TV, which I don't watch. Yeah. I've come here to be verbally abused again, James. Well, you just got a bit of it. He's been waiting to do it, and there it is. And then Jim Jam says, "Oh no, laugh out loud, Tony." And then Jim Jam learnt a valuable lesson last week. Never eat a full slab of candle cake. Laugh out loud. Oh, crikey. Was it one of those? Oh, cake. Oh, I could eat loads of cake. Yeah, lovely bit of cake. You can't beat a bit of cake. Yes. I'm getting swayed towards that Sweeney Blu-ray set. So is it going to happen? Right. That's a good. Will it happen? Are you going to pull the trigger? You might, might you? Now, you said here, what makes a film a classic? Now, I would say this is in like 2 parts in many ways. There are what we call classic films, and I tend to think that we say classic films because they were big box office hits. They were films from an era as well, different eras. I mean, this is always interesting because when does the modern era of films start? Because I think people say 90s and then into the 2000s or the noughties or whatever. I always think when they say noughties, there's something rude going on. But anyhow, it's an interesting concept. When does a film become a classic? You see, classic is a word I use it. I say, "Oh, that's a classic," but it may not be. It's a classic to me. And in other words, classic to me means something that I think is something special, something really great, and is going to carry on. Something that is we're not going to forget about. But you see, I could watch a film and say, "Oh, that's a classic," but it's not, because people are not going to remember it like I do. It's not a special film like I look at. I mean, for me, a good example, Stephen King films. It's one of my all-time favorite films is The Dead Zone. Absolutely love The Dead Zone. But is that a classic? To me, it's a classic. But I suspect to other people, it's not. They would say, Carrie, probably. They would probably put Carrie down and say that is a classic. And I think Carrie is a classic because it's seen as something that people know about that are maybe not as into Stephen King films as much. It's one of those films that has a wider identity, a cultural identity, I think, in terms of films. What am I on about? I don't know, but there is something there that films that are considered classic, I'd say, are films that people know more about. I mean, I would say, yeah, Blade Runner, a classic film, and it would be considered that now. But at the time, it wouldn't. At the time, it was a big box office flop. And it's something that's grown over time. Now, is this the same with what when we say classic films at 1930s? Have they grown in stature over time? Or at the time, like Casablanca, a lot of people will put down as one of those classic films. I think because it's got Bogart in, it's of that particular era, and people will look at that. But then, as I say, people won't look at some of his other films in quite the same way. Like I say, The Big Sleep, which is absolutely brilliant in my opinion. It's because it's maybe not quite as well known. It's a matter of perception, I think, of what we consider a classic film. And I say a classic film, is it by era? I mean, okay, is Oppenheimer, which is a very big recent film that had a lot of stuff around it, is that a classic film? Is it? I don't know. Time may say it is, and time may not. But then you could look at a more modern example, though it's probably not as modern now. You say Schindler's List. Schindler's List. People say classic film. So that, what is meant by classic? Is it the film, or is it the era of when that film was released? Because classic films could be from the 1920s, though I tend to think more 1930 because of talkies era. But people might think, oh yeah, classic 1930s, 1940s films. So it's got two dimensions to it as a word, I think, classic. But you see, I can watch a film and say, oh, that's a classic. And I do. I've watched films and absolutely loved them and think, oh, that's a classic. But to other people, they're probably not classics. And it's that meaning of that word. But there's nothing wrong in that. I mean, it's because it's how we feel. I get excited by a film. I go, wow, this is a classic. Though it's a classic to me, but probably to other people, it's not a classic. So I know I'm sounding like a lot of gibberish, but it's a definition of what the word classic means. Is it in terms of a time period, or is it a film that endures, or a film that you think is so good, that is so brilliant, it's made such an impression that you immediately call it a classic? I think that to me would be the definition of classic. But it's an interesting discussion, very much interesting discussion about, and I say it all comes down to what definition of classic is. So next we've got Tony. Can't remember when I last had a Kendall mint cake. Don't even remember what it tastes like. Mint, I guess. Yes, I presume it does. Del and Ian, you are both great fountains of movie knowledge. Well, thank you. sometimes I think I know more, and sometimes I don't. It depends how the old memory's going. That's why I have Delboy on. I'm not daft. So that he seems to have a knowledge of a lot of films, and hopefully between us both, we do work. We get there somehow. Because I mean, there's so many films, and that it take a hell of a lot to remember all them. But some people I know are brilliant. They go into the directors and who starred in them. To be honest, I can't always remember the names. And maybe top directors, like Scorsese, Spielberg, I can talk about. But if you go into more certain other areas, then I find it more difficult, or what I can remember. Though I do tend to look sometimes when you watch a film and you want to know a bit more about it. Obviously, you look at the director and then you think, oh yeah, what did they direct? So then you look at their filmography of what they directed, and then you might go and watch some more. It just depends, yeah. Jim just Tony, literally, it worked. It's magic. And then we've got Jamie McMahon Movies. Good evening, me ducks. Nay, lad. Good evening to you. Good evening, lad. And then we've got Jim Jam saying, all right, mucker. And then Tony saying, evening, Jamie. And we've got Jamie saying, howdy, James and Tony. And then we've got Steve's Gaming Part 2. We watched the last episode of When the Boot Comes In today. Which of these should we watch next? Sykes, The Dustbin Man, Citizen Smith, The Rag Trade, the Rag Trade, or George and the Dragon. For me, it's Sykes. I love Eric Sykes. I would watch Eric Sykes. Delboy might have a different opinion, but there's something really good about Eric Sykes, as a writer, and the fact that we know it. I learned that he was actually deaf, and those with Atty Jakes are just absolutely wonderful. It's a great dynamic them together. It just works so well, and it's so funny. It's brilliant, and I didn't realize this. I learned that he was deaf and he was lip reading. I mean, imagine that. And he's a great writer as well. So that would be my personal favorite. The Dustbin Man, I don't remember that much. I do remember it being on the telly, but I don't think I watched it. Citizen Smith, yeah, that one, that was very popular. I remember that was good. I enjoyed that. The Rag Trade's an earlier one, isn't it, from 60s? I don't, to be honest, remember that as much. But that is popular. George and the Dragon, what's her name's in that? Oh, she's a real sort of battle axe figure. Peggy Mount, I think. Peggy Mount. I don't know. I might think it's funnier now, but at the time, I don't know whether I did think it was funny. But Sykes, out of them, that's what I would choose. Sykes, brilliant, absolute genius. So the next one is Steve's Gaming, some classic there. Sai says, hi, Muckman. Tony's done it. Sykes would be my choice, Steve. Yeah, of course it would be. Yeah. Brilliant. I watched some Miss Jones earlier. The Rising Damp. Miss Jones. And then we've got Steve's Game Part 2. Thanks. Jim Jones says, all good choices. And Jamie says, sorry to hear about your illness, Ian. Oh, you recover quickly. Yeah, I'm getting there, but I think because of my diabetes, I don't heal as quickly, and that can be a problem. And I have to make sure that I don't get any infections. That's why when the nurses come, they're very particular about when they're doing my legs and that. It's a problem, but you have to just get on with it and live with it. But on Friday, I felt really ill. It gave me another glimpse of not wanting. I've got to be so careful. I don't want to go in hospital again like I did at one time. So it is important, but it does make you feel really horrible, and you kind of begin to lose interest in things, and you just don't feel no appetite, because I love me Tucker, and yeah. So to go off that is really bad, and of course watching something that you love. I love films, and to not have that enthusiasm to want to watch a film. I mean, I watch films every day, and sometimes more than one, two, maybe three. So occasionally, sometimes I fancy a marathon and watch a few. And it's an important part of my life. I love it. I just love film, learning about them, and just enjoy watching them. You can't beat them, really. Got that. It's one of them moth things. These moth things that fly around. I'm sure it's somebody I've made an enemy of in a past life. Yes, they come to bother me. And the more you get them, you think you've got them, they come back. Yeah, they're like those flies that do the same as well. You just get one fly that just refuses to die, and you get really upset with them. Then we've got my movie saying, "Hi, Si," and then Si says, "My mum had cellulitis. She had it to sit in a tub of purple liquid for 6 hours a day. It eventually got better. Bloody hell! Oh God, I hope that doesn't happen to me. But I worried that these things will get worse. But it's when I went in hospital last time. Oh Lord, I was really ill. I was really bad. So I'm always wary now, especially as you get older. Like I'm getting on a bit now. You have to be more and more careful. And walking, of course, becomes more of a problem as well. And I have that already. I have to be very careful. I build up confidence though with walking, and I do now. I can walk a bit more better than I did before, but yeah, that is pretty bad. I don't want to visit hospital again. No way. And Si says, "Thank you, Si. Happy birthday, and thank you." Yeah. I'm next year when I'm 66, I'll be officially a pensioner. You mean old pensioner jokes? I get my pension in August, apparently, not in the exact time. August next year, so that'll be something to look forward to. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. Because I might have a bit more money, and that's always a good thing. My works pension is going to be the one that hopefully will help me, because I just take it in a lump sum. Yeah, and I'm thinking of all the physical media I could buy with some of that. I'll probably blow it all. I don't know. Take away some physical media, fish and chips, and a 4K. Yeah. It says, "Best wishes for a speedy recovery, Ian." Thank you, Tony. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm getting there. I do feel a bit better than I have done. So over the last few days, starting to feel better. So I'm trying to be more confident about these things. And Ian, happy 50th birthday wishes. I like that. 50th. Yes, that's good. If only. if only. Yeah, 65. Oh, I'm I'm 65, but really I'm 50. Yeah, that's a good one. I wish I was 50 again, but I'm not. Okay, so who is your all-time favorite double act from TV and film? You must name one of each. Well, TV, it has to be Morecambe and Wise. Has to be. And I'm going to go Delboy and be going mad because I'm going to say the obvious one as well for film, which is Abbott and Costello. Anybody can do those Universal horror films, but they did a lot more. And I used to watch Abbott and Costello when they were on. They used to show a lot of their films then, yeah. But double acts, Morecambe and Wise, they were outstanding. For me, they were the best. Much better than, say, Mike and Bernie Winters and all those. They were just leagues ahead of all these people. So Morecambe and Wise, they're still funny as well. The great thing about Morecambe and Wise is that you can watch them now, and you can watch them going back in the 70s, and they're still funny, and they transcend the period they're in. You know, what particular year. You can see obviously the way they're dressed, and that points out what sort of era you see them in. Oh yeah, it's very 70s and what have you. But the great that humor never ever ages. It never ages. Whereas you look at some humor and maybe it does because of the time that it was there. You know, when you look right from the 1930s right through, a lot of you, I say Laurel and Hardy, of course, they stand out as well. They go beyond their era that they were in, even though you could argue that the era is there in the film. You can see the way it develops from the silence into the talking pictures. But I would say Morecambe and Wise as well. It doesn't really affect the humor at all. I can't think of anything. But there are you can watch humor of some comics. I think, well, I always think Mike and Bernie Winters were always like a second division Morecambe and Wise. They were like a one-trick pony. They did the same thing over and over again. Now you can argue Morecambe and Wise sometimes were repetitive, but they weren't. They had a different way with it. They were they were above it. You knew you were dealing with people who were masters at what they were doing, whereas Mike and Bernie Winters may have been good in their way, but I never really got it. I remember actually, I'm talking about this. I remember I went on when we used to go to Blackpool when I was a child, and sometimes you'd go and see these acts. And Mike and Bernie Winters was one I remember dragging us along. So I still want that keen to something like North Pier in Blackpool, and you'd watch them, and yeah, they weren't that funny then. It was just, as a child, I realized they weren't that funny, you know. So they weren't the outstanding act that they were just second, third division. That's it. And how many? The only two acts that are first division for me: Laurel and Hardy and Morecambe and Wise. And I suspect Delboy would agree with me a lot on that. Yeah. Do you want to answer that question?
Bloody answered it, you know.
I know you got that bastard. Why did he get him first? Yeah.
I mean, it's an obvious answer. I mean, for film, it's Ian and Delboy. They were in a film, you see. It was The Search for Tony York's DVD collection, right? It came out last year. It was a sleeper hit, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And then on TV there was the Ian and Delboy Spectacular. They did it from tents and stuff, you know, summer spectaculars going around all the seasides doing all this sort of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, they took over from the Crankies, believe it or not.
Oh God,
you know.
you just said perhaps the worst, the lower divisions, the Crankies.
No, I mean anybody that looks at that question is bound sure from a certain age that those are the premier. I don't care what anybody says really. If somebody was looking for, well, okay, if those are the top, what's the second? It's a bit of a hard question because what followed Morecambe and Wise from the 70s, because they were a powerhouse. I would say that when you go into the 80s, Cannon and Ball followed them. I would have said, because in the 80s, Morecambe and Wise left. They left us. They moved over to ITV. They weren't the same, and then he died, and then that was pretty much it. Cannon and Ball started in the late 70s. They were nothing. They were in the Wheel Tappers and Social Club, and was on one of those sort of like game shows like Opportunity Knocks or New Faces or whatever. And then they took off, and then for 10 years there was nothing but Cannon and Ball. They had all of their show was watched by millions. And just like Morecambe and Wise, they tried to do a film. They did The Boys in Blue, which was a cool film, but it was based around a Will Hay Ask a Policeman, I think it was, or something like that as well. It was the one set in the Smuggler's Cove, wasn't it? I mean, it was, so that's a well-known one. So, and then if you're talking about films, you'd probably go Abbott and Costello, because they probably followed Laurel and Hardy as a double act. So you'd probably say that was second tier, but they were first tier. They were just different decades.
Yeah.
You got to remember that Laurel and Hardy tried to keep their careers alive, but for health reasons and whatever, they only were kept in the limelight by doing tours of Britain and things like that. You know, they tried to make a film in the early 50s. Abbott and Costello were everywhere then, and nobody was hiring an old act like Laurel and Hardy. They moved away from the Hal Roach studios, and basically every film that they did after the Hal Roach films, films, they were pretty much bombs. They weren't bombs because I still enjoy them, right?
Yeah,
but they weren't of that that decade where they were on the top of their game. You know what I mean? There was something about Hal Roach's studios that they were synonymous with, I suppose. I love Abbott. Don't get me wrong. I love Abbott and Costello. You know, I like them on TV. I like them in films. They had the Abbott and Costello show that lasted 2 seasons. People sometimes forget that. So they transcended from going on cinema to going onto our TV sets. Laurel and Hardy didn't do that. They had repeats of their films showing on TV, but they didn't actually in a TV show dedicated to them, unless you're talking cartoons. There was a Laurel and Hardy cartoon that came out in the 60s, and I believe that Stan Laurel voiced one of them. Otherwise, it was voice actors. So I know an awful lot about this subject, but I think you've talked about the points. Really, Morecambe and Wise were just a powerhouse. Everybody wanted to be on their show. Their Christmas show. You didn't have a Christmas unless Morecambe and Wise was on. You know what I mean? It was the jewel in the crown of BBC. It wasn't the Generation Game or any of that, as far as I'm concerned. It was the Morecambe and Wise show. Even the Queen was watching Morecambe and Wise that night. You know what I mean? It's as simple as that. You know what I mean? So it is a shame. The double act is a hard one to do now, I would say. You know? It's, you know, you've got Hugh and Laurie and all of that, but even then, that's not now. You'd think you'd got a buddy, wouldn't you? That would, if we're experiencing bad things, that person would cheer you up, and vice versa, and all of that sort of stuff. But you tend to find history has shown that jealousy comes in. Cannon and Ball didn't speak to each other because the bodyguards were telling them that, oh, did you know that Tommy Cannon said this about you? And Bobby Ball said this about you. And Bobby Ball was getting a girl every night, and Tommy Cannon wasn't, and all of this sort of stuff. And he was the sexy one, and I'm the one with all the jokes, and you're the straight man, and all this sort of stuff. So I'm more popular than you. All of that comes in, and that's why Abbott and Costello fell out. And it's just amazing that Laurel and Hardy, that didn't happen to them, although there was, I believe, an argument that was witnessed by several people where they resented each other. And it was towards the end. And it was all to do with the Hal Roach thing, where Stan stayed behind at the Hal Roach Studios for a year. And that's because Hal Roach had them in their pockets by having different dates for the ends of their contracts.
Yeah.
Oh, and they used that. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So, you know, there are a number of great double acts, and it's horrible to sort of like say singular them out. But I watched double acts in my teens and as a child, and then I don't really remember double acts that stick out because they were all good. You know, somebody's just mentioned Reeves and Mortimer. Yeah, I can't fault that, Reeves and Mortimer. But for every one of those, there is Smith and Jones.
Oh,
and all of that sort of stuff. They're equally as good, but it was a different type of humor.
Yeah.
So you watch them because they did a more political one, or the other ones did a more sweary one where they were always, going beyond what they should do and all of this sort of stuff. Where back in the 70s, it was more not about risque, it was more about funny, I think. You know, you had to actually have something that was unique and new, Morecambe and Wise. That's why they had a script editor. What was his name? I've forgotten his name. They took off, didn't they, when they hired a new script writer to write with them. I've forgotten his name now.
Yeah.
And he was the one who transferred them because he put them living in their own apartment. They slept in the same bed.
Oh yeah,
all that sort of stuff. Right? I've forgotten his name. Ian Draben, something Draben. No, I've forgotten.
I don't know. Yeah.
Anyway, so they came out with different scenarios. You know, if Shirley Bassey was on there, there'd be two people in the background that was supposed to be doing the sets or something and turning around or something on a turntable, and you'd see them there joking while she's trying to sing Goldfinger or whatever it was. Do you know what I mean? They had all these different ways of getting Glenda Jackson on to do Cleopatra or something, and he'd bring in a joke about their football team that he was supporting, in Roman numerals or something. They transposed stuff from the past and made it modern. I think that's what Morecambe and Wise were good at.
Yeah, they were.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they transposed as well all the homophobia. All
that
sort of stuff. Didn't mean nothing to them. Didn't need bringing up.
Yeah.
As far as they were concerned, if they brought in Des O'Connor and had a joke about him each week, they were golden. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had some good news. Des O'Connor's got a sore throat.
Yeah. Do you remember when he
like that? You know what I mean?
He appeared on the show, didn't he? It was really funny when he actually did turn up, didn't they?
And they'd show his record, and then they'd bend it like his head.
Yeah, that's right.
And then they bring out sheets of paper with all their old jokes about Des O'Connor like this.
And do you remember he was just about to sing, wasn't it? They said, "Yeah, go and sing," and then they just chopped it off. He didn't get to sing in the
or the curtain had fallen on him or something. Yeah. It's that sort of thing, you know. Yeah, see, I got it right. It's Eddie Braben. So I said something Braben. I couldn't quite remember what it was. Eddie Braben. He transposed them. He pogo stick them to top notch.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you got to remember when they first came out, it was on TV. That there's a famous article that came out, the review that said the TV is the coffin that Ted Malcolm and wives will end up on, or something like this. That, and they weren't on telly again for about 12 years. It's amazing. The BBC passed on them and all sorts of stuff, and then here we are, and we have a period of time, must be about 15 years, where we had comedy gold. And I think to myself, just think of the missed opportunities of the 10, the 15 years before that we could have had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because this is why I was saying about Star Trek, right? If you want the old style Star Trek now, you can't do it. All the actors are dying. You had a chance to record their voices, and you could have had them in cartoons. You could have done audio books. You could have done. There was a massive, massive way that you could keep them alive, because just because they were old didn't mean that you couldn't do something. You know what I mean? We never saw a Next Generation cartoon.
No.
Right? They've done this Below Decks crap, right? Lower Decks, I think it's called, right? Because I mean, you've had all of the actors turning around saying it's hard to get us all together. But as far as I'm concerned, you got them all together for the Picard season 3, and you said that's the end, right? And I'm thinking to myself, look, we want another 10 years of you. We know we can't have that in TV. Can we have a cartoon? I mean, how hard would it be for you to sit around a desk just reading out your lines? Somebody comes along and takes 10 years to do the animation part. But we've got 7 seasons of a cartoon with your voice actors in it.
That'd be great.
I'd live
Next Generation. Yeah.
I'd live it. Tell you that now.
Yeah.
If Hollywood wants to contact me, they can contact me via Ian. He's my agent. And we will split the profits.
Yeah, definitely.
But all I'm trying to get at is that it's not the end when your TV career and your film career is gone. If something was a success, it can be a success again, but it might take years, and that's when it's going to be very difficult. Exploit it. Think ahead. Be proactive, not reactive.
Yeah.
And do something that you've got something in a tin that you can use. And even if it's the voices.
Yeah.
I mean, Christ, people are now looking all around YouTube for interviews of Patrick Stewart and Jonathan Frakes, and you only get to see them at conventions, and they're talking about the same stuff. And all I'm saying to you, why do that? Get them all bloody together and give them a project and have something that will take several years to do. But all they've got to do is spend one day in an audio booth, reading out their lines.
Yeah.
You do all the hard work with the animation and everything, make it good.
Yeah.
Get the story.
And maybe now with James Earl Jones doing what he did, it might encourage other people.
Well, this AI thing where he says you use my likeness and my voice and all of this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to go down the AI route, but it is a way. But these people are alive that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You still got a chance. I mean, if you think about it, of the actors that are on the Next Generation crew, Patrick Stewart is still alive. Jonathan Frakes still alive. You know, I mean, Data's still alive. You've got Troy that's still alive. You've got. So what I'm trying to say is, you've got the original crew, and their voices haven't changed that much that you couldn't make it.
Yeah,
where you could show them in their you could show them in their younger selves.
I wonder, Patrick Stewart, I suspect, is quite frail now. I think, so I don't know if the voice still has that power, but you can. It doesn't matter, does it? Because you can still get it. Do something with it. Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Right. Let's see. Sai says, not to make you feel worse, Ian, but you're only 2 years older than Tom Cruise. Yeah. Well, he's a sod, isn't he? You know, jumping out of airplanes. He's a bastard, isn't he? Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, obviously I've got the better looks. I may not have all the thing, but Why jump out of aeroplanes and here and there?
I know his brother.
Go on, here we go.
Cruise missile.
Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah. I know he is to use Delboy's phrase.
Yeah, actually, I used to say I know his brother. I used to say I know his brother. Sea Cruise.
No, but yeah, everybody goes on about Tom Cruise being so bloody young and looking bastard.
I've heard that the next Mission Impossible is him trying to leave Scientology.
Oh, yes, yeah, good joke there. The more you think about that one, that's probably very true. And I bet they take a big cut of what he makes out of films.
Of course they do.
Donates.
He's like a fountain. He's like a big head person for them. It's well known. They had the person that used to be. She was a comedian, wasn't she? She was in.
It wasn't Kirstie Alley.
No. This comedian was in an American show that lasted about 8 or 9 years. It wasn't a particularly funny one. It had Lou Ferrigno as their neighbor or something. It was he was a delivery man in New York. And anyway, she was the wife.
Oh, right.
And she entered Scientology. And that obviously because she was on TV, they entered her into it.
Yeah.
And then basically, she tried to leave, and it was an absolute nightmare for her. I mean, that she didn't get offered new roles and all sorts of stuff because Scientology so many. It's like Hydra. They got tentacles that basically that could just put a block. You leave us, and then basically that's you doomed.
Yeah,
etc. You're not allowed to have photography inside their buildings. You're not allowed to talk.
Yeah, no, it is a cult. It's a definite cult. Yeah, definitely. Right. I've not seen the trailer, but I love the first film. I'm looking forward to Black Phone 2. The first film was excellent. Absolutely brilliant.
See, Si knows this. Look, by the way, it's Leah Remini from King of Queens. King of Queens. Right. That's what it was because it was set in New York, and he was a person that delivered the post for Tony York, I believe, delivering all these DVDs. That's what the show was about. And Leah Remini was the wife of him. Yeah, I didn't find it a particularly funny show, but there we are.
Yeah.
She was an attractive young lady though. Whoa. Yeah. She was on the front cover of he was in those sorts of like 100 hottest women in those GQ magazines, those GQ magazines and stuff that we used to watch, Nuts and all that sort of stuff,
Right. Have you seen Black Phone 2 trailer?
You know what? I haven't, and I haven't seen White Phone either. No. I've got a rose gold phone. If I take this cover off, it's sort of like rosy gold. It's got a sheen to it. Look, I've got Black Phone 2. There you are. Look.
Oh, dear.
No, I haven't seen it. I do apologize. No, I haven't.
Yeah.
What's it about? Was it a horror?
Yeah. It's very good. Haven't you seen Black Phone, the first
I said
one?
I haven't seen it. No.
Yeah. Oh. It's well worth watching. Good for it, really is. Jim Jam, I'm really looking forward to Black Phone 2, says Si. Yeah. Del, great find with Warrior Queen.
He told me that there was a cheap copy of Warrior Queen from the 70s again, like that that serpent one.
Yeah.
And all it is that it came up for $1.99 on Amazon, and I bought it.
Yeah,
and I think it arrives tomorrow. I think.
Oh, that's good. And then Jim Jones says, "Si does look a good route they've gone down." Oh, well, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Great to hear you enjoyed the chase, Ian. Thanks, Jamie. It is. It's brilliant. Absolutely loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great game show, that.
Oh, dear.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, dear. Oh, yeah.
I like the one that dresses up a little bit like Elvis. He's really knowledgeable. What am I missing?
I know what you're on about. I don't think I've seen it. I don't think I've ever seen is it The Chase or something?
Yeah, that's what you're talking about.
I've never seen that one. But I've seen
isn't that what you're talking about?
No, we're about Chase. It's a film. It's a
Korean
film.
Know?
A Korean film.
I was looking after my sick mother. How was I supposed to know?
Yeah.
No,
right.
I have seen The Chase.
Yeah.
Yes. I am joking with you.
We know.
I haven't seen Black Phone. That legitimately, I have not seen Black Phone though.
Yeah, it's well worth. I think you'll enjoy it. It's quality. Though somebody else will in a minute. Anyhow, do you think that Ethan Hawke character could become the next horror franchise baddie, like Freddy, Jason, or Michael? I don't know. It's an interesting idea, but will it? Yeah. There's such iconic names: Freddy, Jason, and Michael. I think it's difficult for any new character to follow them. Yeah. I don't know.
Wasn't Ethan Hawke in that horror film where he sort of like made mannequins or something? Or am I thinking of another character that was in the? He kept killing all these girlfriends and all that. So it was always through his eyes. The whole film was done shot as it was through his eyes. And he goes around killing them. I forgot what I think it was a remake of an 80s film.
Oh right. I
might be thinking of somebody else.
I think when you compare stuff with Freddy, Jason, or Michael, it is very difficult nowadays, I think, to have that. I mean, there is one that people do rate, which I do not like at all. I know a lot of people do. It's the Terrifier things. They're hoping, I think, to get that, but I don't like the Terrifier. But I think they're hoping that that Terrifier thing will become a franchise, I think. But I don't. Just personally, I just don't get Terrifier. I just think it's overdone. People rave about it, where it's just showing somebody trying to slice up somebody in the most bloody way possible and showing the effects, and that's it. No.
See, Size answered the question. It was Elijah Wood.
Yeah,
and it was a remake. Oh,
Elijah Wood. Yeah,
it was the remake of Maniac. But you understand Ethan Hawke, Elijah Wood. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
like, Jamie says, I wasn't that impressed with Black Phone. No?
No, he bought a white one.
I really enjoyed it. Ethan Hawke is so good in it. And Jamie says, I always say the same thing about people who won't entertain foreign film because they need to read subtitles. They're missing out. I totally agree with you. Totally agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah, people say, "Oh, I can't concentrate on the film because I'm concentrating on the subtitles." All I would say is you're not reading the bloody subtitles properly, because once you get involved in a film, the subtitles come up. You don't even notice that you're reading subtitles.
Well, to me, when I saw Nikita at the cinema, I remember going to see Nikita. It was a Luc Besson film, absolutely fantastic, and I saw it in its original French language. All I had to do was really just concentrate on the center of the screen. My eyes, it's like it's like these bifocals, you know what I mean? Where you've got the line at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
I'm sort of like watching the thing, but I can easily read the words that are at the bottom. I'm going like this. I'm sort of like instantly sort of like scanning the screen. And I suppose because the screen is so large, it was easier to do. As we've gotten up to 55-inch screens and above, I don't see what the problem is. I really don't. I'm looking at it like the projector screens.
Yeah.
And all I do is I look back and I go, oh yeah, that's great. And there's even a Godfather type TV program on the moment called Gomorrah, which is like an Italian Godfather.
Yeah.
Totally in its Italian language, I think.
Oh, that'd be good.
And it's up to episode 4. I watched the first 2 episodes and I understood everything that was going on.
Yeah, exactly. I think when you get so involved in a film, those subtitles are just part. You don't even notice you're reading subtitles. You're so involved in it. So I never agree with people that say the subtitles are putting them off. They obviously just, well, maybe they do for some people. But
start off small is the best way that I can say. Or I'll tell you what, the other thing that you could do, watch an English film, but put the closed captions on.
Yeah.
And learn to sort of like scan the lines.
Yeah.
I've never been put off by watching a Star Trek film when they're talking in Klingon.
Yeah.
And I'm going, oh right, is that what they're saying? Right. Okay.
Yeah, I think when you get so involved in a film, they just disappear almost. They're there, but you don't notice them. It says, Tony says, I must admit, where it's available, I normally watch foreign films with the English dub. Just laziness, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't mind subtitles. It would never put me off seeing something. No, it shouldn't do, really.
No.
But yeah, I suppose dubs are all right. Yeah, I don't mind dubs if something's dubbed.
Oh, and Muckman will even probably go a little bit further and say manga, right? And the animations.
Yeah.
They were from Japan. We waited an age to have them in English dubbed. You could watch them in their natural language. I think Akira came with subtitles when it was first over here. You had the choice when the Laserdisc come out to have the dub or the original Japanese language. By the way, there's a nice lady that's just come in, Sandra Clark. She's just said, my dad can't watch them because of dyslexia, and I can understand that must be such a horrible thing to have a disability that option is taken away. When that option is taken away from you, I mean, that must be awful, you know?
That is.
I mean, just think of those people that would like to but can't. Right? Yeah, you're there going, I just don't want to because I'm lazy and I can't be asked to read. And I've come to watch a film. I haven't come to read. If I want to read, I read a book when I'm home. All of these people that say all that sort of stuff, I think it's a bit of short-sightedness.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
You know, all those people that are blind and they have to read with their hands and all of this sort of stuff. They're now able to have some type of remnants of what reading a book is like. Yeah. And there's all these people saying, I can't be asked to read a book. Look, it's 1,000 pages. I'll get to about page 5, fall asleep, blah, blah, blah.
But you heard people say that.
You have got the ability to do it. And there's a person probably 1 mile down the road that would love that ability.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're not even giving it a chance.
Yeah.
I look at things a bit like that now, probably because I'm older.
Yeah.
I'm looking at, I don't want to miss opportunities anymore.
Yeah. I think maybe as I've got older with books, I've got lazier because when I was younger, I used to read books all the time. And nowadays, I hardly read any books.
Yeah,
the books I read are more reference type books.
That's it.
I'll
tell you what it is. It's the investment that you know that it's going to take you a week or whatever it is to get through this book, and you know that you just don't want to start it off because you know you'll probably get about 3 chapters in, and something will happen which will stop you from reading it, and then you won't go back because you can't be asked to read those 3 chapters again, and all of that sort of stuff. And I totally get that. You know what I mean? Everybody's lives are different. I'm just talking about the people that go, I'm not even going to try because I've already made an opinion of it.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like that. I try not to have an opinion of. I said at the beginning, this year I'm not going to, just because a franchise is coming out, instantly turn around and say, I bet that's going to be shit because the one 5 years ago was so stellar. This one's going to be crap, and it ain't even out yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I have my shortcomings with Superman, but for my own reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I know that in the 50s there was a dog in it.
Yeah.
Right? It's just I don't want a Superman film with a dog in it. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's got superpowers and it's got super jaws and it can carry Superman through the air because it's a super dog and it can bark and open the Fortress of Solitude. I don't give a shit. It's a dog.
You don't.
It's a dog. I wasn't interested in the dog in Tintin. Right?
Yeah.
I wanted to know about Tintin and that bloody fisherman bloke. I didn't give a shit about the dog.
Yeah.
No, I'm being nasty there, but you get the idea. I know that there's a Supergirl and there's a Superboy and there's a Superman and all that, but I was brought up with Christopher Reeve as Superman.
Yeah,
and it was I want the stories that I grew up with repeated because I'm an old fuddy duddy. I'm not the film is not being made for me, so don't listen to me. Right, go watch it. I'm going to watch it. I'm still going to go and see the film. Don't get me wrong. I'm just not looking forward to a dog being in it. A dog rescuing Superman. Hey, he's super, isn't he? What's a dog rescuing him for? It's like having Tarzan bloody rescued by a flipping snake or something in the river or something, right? Oh, my mate Tarzan's hurt. I think I'll wrap myself around like a boa constrictor and take him over to the reeds over there and we'll raise him up, shall we, as a snake? Yeah, bollocks. You know what I mean? It's but I mean, I think anybody will probably understand my opinion when it comes to Superman if they've watched the Christopher Reeve documentary. It was a superb documentary. It was one of those ones where I said that's the documentary of the year as far as I'm concerned. Such a great guy, did so much other stuff that we've not given a chance to. You know, he's done Rear Window. He did all sorts of stuff, right? While he was in his wheelchair, he was behind the camera. He was doing all sorts of stuff. He did not stop, even though something happened to him that would basically put you in a situation where you just want to kill yourself. He went, no. You know, fair play to the guy. I mean, that's a bloke. That's a man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Si says, I used to work with a guy who refused to watch films before 1980. Oh dear. He said he didn't like old films. What? That's what I could think. I mean, what? Yeah. I don't know what to say. Anybody who says that.
Yeah, 80 years of cinema never happened, did it?
Yeah. 1980. Oh, blimey.
I mean, 80 years, that is. I mean, you go back to the 1980s. Yeah, it never happened.
Yeah, ridiculous. And there's so many great films that you're missing. So many. It's unbelievable the amount of films that you're missing. Anyhow, Tony says, I rarely watch ones that are after 1980, so you're the other way around, Tony.
Yeah, he doesn't watch them. He sends them to you, Ian. Doesn't he? He's kept all the films, 1979 and before. He sent everything afterwards to you. Bastard.
With the talk of
Mr. Royal Mail, I call him.
I went to see the remastered original of Metropolis, even though it's a silent movie. The original subtitles were in German, so the subtitles had
subtitles. Yeah.
Actually, I've got to say, I've got Metropolis, and I was I know it sounds awful, but I got a bit bored with it. I got a bit bored. It is a long film. I will say that, and I could
Cheers.
see a lot of good in it, but I felt it needed a bit of editing. I did. I shouldn't say that, but I know that's sacrilege, probably, but it is rather long.
It is a film. It is a film that basically you could write the plot on the back of a postage stamp for the original.
Yes. Actually, you're probably right.
And then it's a convoluted, oh my god, what's this?
Yeah.
There's a modern one that's even longer. And yet they said it was long in the first one.
Yeah.
Taking that away, I found Metropolis not to be as bad as what people were saying.
Yeah.
I bought it as a steelbook and never saw it at the cinema.
Yeah.
And I watched it and I thought to myself, I can understand why people have got a problem with it, but it's not as bad as what people are saying.
Yeah.
It's far worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a mess of a film.
Yeah. It's a film has got more historical importance rather than
I'd still watch the original over that one.
Yeah.
Every time. You gave me the choice of two, I'd go, oh, the original one.
Yeah. I think
the new one didn't excite me. The original one did.
Yeah.
Probably because I knew the shortcomings of what you could do back in the day when that film came out, and I know there's no shortcomings in this new one.
Yeah.
So the story would have to be something incredibly impressive, being as the special effects are not going to impress you, and that's the trouble. The story doesn't have that impressionable part.
It doesn't match it. You're right. It doesn't match what you're seeing on screen.
Yeah.
No, but it's a historical film, so I know its importance, and that's how we should look at it, definitely. And then Si says, Tony York, can you imagine never watching The Godfather or French Connection? Exactly.
Yeah, but I can imagine never watching Condor. I can always imagine not watching Condor, man. Or Manimal.
Yeah. The Godfather, it's one of my all-time favorite films. I love The Godfather. It's a film that followed me around again, and I just think it's a masterpiece. I know the people are going to say, yeah, the sequel is better. Yeah, the sequel is brilliant. I like to think of them as all one film together. They did. Put them together as one film. But if I had to choose, I would still choose the first one.
Yes.
Something about it. Great, though. Now we've got Through the Lens. Josh. Hey, fellas. How are we doing? Watched the new Wes Anderson film last week, and I was honestly disappointed. I still thought it was on, but not great. Oh. I've got a confession to make. I don't think I've seen any Wes Anderson films. I've heard of him.
I bet you have.
Which one?
No. I mean, if I was to think about it, he's done quite a few films. I mean,
I know the names. I do know some of the names, but I've not actually seen them. I've not actually viewed them.
Somebody posted on Facebook, by the way, that they're bringing out the whole Wes Anderson collection. It's on 40 discs.
Yeah. Oh, crikey. I think I should watch some of his films. Apparently, he's got
have you seen The Life Aquatic?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've not seen that one. I've heard it mentioned.
That's usually one people will say they've seen. Because of Bill Murray, I suppose. But Bill Murray's in a lot of Wes Anderson films. I think they've worked collaboratively on a number, you see.
Yeah.
He did a couple of years ago an animated one with dogs.
Oh, right.
I watched that. I forget the names of them, but
it's somebody who I should probably watch. I presume there's a certain style to his films.
Yes, there's a definite style to Wes Anderson films. It's like watching one of those you know, that bloke that you like with the horrors with Older and Signs and all of that sort of stuff. There's
M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, it's sort of like he paints his pictures in a sort of like
He's
same
got
sort
a
of
certain
color
way
range.
of
They are all different. Don't get me wrong, but they're you know you're watching a Wes Anderson film.
It might be worth having a look at sometime. And then Tony says, that reminds me, I must watch French Connection. I got the Blu-ray of it and the follow-up when there were the reports of bits being edited out a couple of years ago. Oh, yeah, I remember there was all that business about editing. I only seen it on TV many years ago. I'm actually the same. I haven't got it, but I've seen it I saw it when it was came out at the cinema, and I think I saw French Connection 2 at the cinema as well. But I've not seen it since. But yeah, that was a bit about the streaming business where they were cutting out certain scenes because of the language involved. I think it was seen as a racial thing, and there was a big debate about, you know, that really you should have the physical copy because streaming services are liable to do this. They'll cut bits out which they think might be inappropriate for nowadays audiences, and they put those disclaimers in front of them now as well. But as I say, you can't beat having the physical copy because you're getting what the director intended, or get what he intended to be released. Oh, now this is interesting. Jamie says, never watching Jaws, Star Wars, The Exorcist. What an idiot. Exactly. Says, exactly, Muckman. How narrow-minded can you get? Exactly. People are like that. They get these sort of ideas. Just because something's popular doesn't mean that it's going to be bad. It works both ways, doesn't it? You get people who think that something's too obscure and that's going to be, I'm not interested in that. It's going to be all art house or something like that. And then there's the other side who just saying, oh, Jaws, Star Wars, they're too popular. I can't watch them. The Exorcist. How can you not? They're just... If you love films, you love all films, and you love popular films as well. There's nothing wrong with a film being popular, you know. Nothing wrong at all. And Jaws is a film that is iconic and it stands up well. Star Wars is the same. They're iconic. The Exorcist as well. I mean, you would pick them as top films of their genres. You would pick of those three films. I mean, I always think Jaws is interesting because what genre do you put it in? Now, a lot of people say horror. To me, I always put it more adventure, thriller kind of film, which is interesting because it's a creature feature, isn't it? And our creature features horror films. But it's a top tier film. It's well made. It transcended culture. It went across. People know about Jaws who haven't even seen it. You know, it's one of those films. And same with Star Wars. Star Wars is the same. People that are not interested much still know about Star Wars. And The Exorcist, everybody goes, oh, it's that horrific film. It's one of the most horrific films ever made, which is not, but it's got that image. But they're iconic films. So there you are. That's what they do, these people. I don't know. They don't know about film. That's all I can say. And you're right, Muckman, definitely. Anything do you want to add to that, or?
No, not really.
Right. Let's see. The next one we've got Mukbang movies: 12 Angry Men, 7 Samurai, and Psycho. Oh wow!
I was actually. I mean, I was listening to what you were saying, but I was actually taken aback because something happened this week that not many of us have sort of like acknowledged, and you will have noticed this, Ian, that of course that Prentice Hancock died.
Oh yeah.
Just recently. He was in Space 1999.
Yeah.
But I also remember him being in Doctor Who and The Protectors.
Yeah, it was a familiar face. Yeah,
it's one of those ones where people probably would see his face and go, I know what you're talking about, but I'm not sure what you're talking about, if you know what I mean. But yeah, he played Paul Morrow. We've got a nice lady that's in, Sandra Clark, by the way. I'm just addressing some of the things that are coming in, and I thought to myself, how bad was it that I came in with a rant this afternoon and this evening, and I didn't actually acknowledge that it died, when actually Space 1999 was a show that I absolutely adored. It shaped some of my childhood, you see. And usually when somebody does that to you in your life, it's sort of like it sort of like shapes what you're going to say tonight. Do you know what I mean? But I didn't. I just carried on, and then somebody came out and I went, "Oh yeah, it would have been in my blog. It will be in my blog."
Yes, of course.
But it's just that my childhood is shrinking every week.
Yeah,
I tend to find. At the moment, I mean, it's just terrible. But yes, to answer Sandra's question, yes, I did know. Sorry, I haven't acknowledged it in this show. Should have done. My fault.
Yeah.
So many things going on in my life, and there's an actor that basically, did actually have an impression on my life. I watched that show, and for some of it was because of him. I loved all the characters. I mean, it's just that he was one of the major players. That was in it.
Yeah.
He was always on the communications, wasn't he? Talking to the Eagles.
Yeah.
And everything, and there was that lady in it as well that he was sort of like sat next to all the time. I called her the Uhura character because she was doing like the same thing, weren't she? And you thought that they were girlfriend and boyfriend because they were sitting next to each other for all time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Silly things like that. And he was sorely missed. He wasn't in season 2.
Yeah.
I think they turned around and said that it died.
Oh, did they acknowledge it? Oh.
Yeah. I don't know what the answer was for Barry Morse,
No,
his character.
they just pretended
he wanted to be in it, but the Americans did not want him in it. I don't think that was the case with Paul Morrow. I think it was something else. But they wrote. I think in one episode they actually acknowledged that it died in an eagle accident.
Oh right, yeah.
I never really got on with the guy that used to be in the Protectors.
Yeah.
The Protectors or the Persuaders, who kept trying to make bloody alcohol on the Moon Base Alpha. He used to piss me off. Always trying to go out with Maya, the one who used to change shape.
Yeah.
Was it because he was handsome? I don't know. He had black hair, looked Italian. Right. I used to think that you're a bastard, don't like you already. I just looked at him as somebody who just wanted to get everybody pissed on Moon Base Alpha every week. That's how I looked at him.
Yeah.
He wanted to get everybody drunk every week. But I've made this new set of. I've got these new hops that I've grown on Moon Base Alpha. Do you want to start drinking this? It's like paint stripper. You know what I mean?
Anyhow, those are 3 great films there. Brilliant films, absolutely.
Oh, well, across every single one of those
what a classic,
are in my faves.
Yeah. And then we've got Tony said, unfortunately, the world is quite full of narrow-minded people, not just as regards film. Yeah, They're everywhere. Everywhere you go. He's missing out. Yes. The Sting, I had to say that, is my favorite film of all time. I think you have mentioned that before.
That's a bold, but that is a bold statement to say that's your favorite film of all time. I have a trouble answering that question when anybody asks me, and I've always turned around and said I've got favorite films in each genre, like comedy.
Pick one film,
but I can't say that film is better than that when they're two distinctly different types of films. So I've got a favorite drama, and I've got a favorite science fiction. I've got a favorite, you know what I mean? And then it's even hard. You know what I mean? You got to narrow down 80 years of science fiction films down into one film. It's a bit hard.
Exactly.
So
an all-time favorite is. I agree. It's impossible, really. It's impossible.
No, I'm clapping Cy Robson because I tell you what, that's a bold statement. Come out,
impossible.
Absolutely fantastic. I tell you, I couldn't do it.
Yeah. I'd have problems doing top tens. Never mind that of certain genres. If you said top 10 sci-fi films, I would have a hell of a problem just doing 10. Definitely. It would extend easily into 20. Easily. But there we are. And then James says, I received my cheapy copy of Dr. Zhivago today. Can't wait to watch it. It was one of my mum's favorites. I think I saw it when I was very young, but probably didn't appreciate it at the time. There's a film I've got that Tony sent me, but I haven't got around to watching. But it
is my third David Lean film. It's always permanently third. When you've got Bridge Over the River Kwai and Lawrence of Arabia.
Oh, look at this! This is what might put people off. It's 200.
It is, and it's a Russian love film as well.
It's epic.
It's mostly remembered. I think is it Maurice Jarre's score? The sort of like it's everybody sort of like remembers it for the tune more than what's going on. But it is. I mean, I've watched it a number of times, and I enjoy it when I watch it. But it's a slog for me to get my mind around whether I want to watch it again because it is a long film, and it is a love film. Really, it's a romance.
It's just got the background because I'd be more interested in Russian Revolution, which is a massive, interesting subject.
But it's a David Lean film. It's if you want to watch specific sort of directors and stuff, it's a must watch. I mean, I look at those and it's amazing. I do look at Lawrence of Arabia, Bridge Over the River Kwai, and Dr. Zhivago as a trilogy. Nothing to do with each other. It's just that they're done by the same director and they're both epic. They're all epics.
That's right. Sai says, I think it was my mum's favorite film.
Every mother's favorite film.
What's cheap about it, Jamie? Is it DVD? Tony says, bit controversial, I think, but my favorite David Lean epic is Ryan's Daughter. Always been interested in that period of Irish history. I love Ryan's Daughter. I think it's a great film. Absolutely love it. It's one of those.
Not considered an epic. I don't know why.
It's just such a good film.
It's a character-driven film.
And actually, I know what you mean. They had a news
article on the other day, about John Wayne and The Irishman. Right? He was in a film. The Irishman, right? And they said, does John Wayne is he a good figurehead for Irish tourism? Right? Because whenever you talk about Ireland, you think of John. Apparently, Americans think of John Wayne, right? And they were saying, have you ever watched that film? How they treat women in that film? It is not a quintessential film to educate. That's how life is in Ireland.
No,
it's not like that one
no.
bit. And so it's amazing that you've talked about Ryan's daughter, and I've instantly thought about that news article that was on last week.
Yeah,
quite interesting.
Oh yeah. Who's going to watch Ballerina when it's released on Friday? Are you going, Si? I presume you might be going.
Oh,
yeah.
He goes to the opening of a bloody Sainsbury's. He does.
Yeah. It would be good to. I'm sure a lot of people will enjoy it because it's part of the John Wick.
I'd love to be able to go to the cinema, you know, with my mother like she is. I'd have to have my mum sitting here.
Yeah.
You know.
No, this is Ryan's daughter. It was in the 2 for £15 at HMV, Tony. So that's good. Yeah.
Every time they do an anniversary of Lawrence of Arabia, Bridge over the River Kwai, they never do a steelbook of Zhivago. Weird.
No.
Yeah, it's equally as important as it and impressive, really.
Yeah,
it's just I have to admit it is weaker than those two, from in my opinion. But just because of its very story, it's very story, if you see what I mean. So.
And okay, Jamie, I have it on Blu-ray. I think it's a 2-disc edition. Yeah. And you sent me the DVD you had.
Oh, did he? Oh, what shock!
That's that cute. Simon,
shock surprise! I just said shock surprise.
So I might go and see Ballerina the weekend after. A bit busy this weekend, but definitely up for 2 hours of Ana de Armas. Is that how you say it?
Armas. Ana de Armas.
Yeah. But, and then look at this. Ana de Armas. And
a very attractive lady.
Very attractive.
This was brought up last week, and I looked up the picture of her.
And you was instantly struck by the beauty.
Si, you've got no bloody chance.
Yeah.
I've got more chance.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they were on about the definition. Yeah, a classic film takes time to become a classic film, in my opinion.
Yeah, it does.
And for me, time and a film that defines the decade it was made is what makes a film a classic. That's it. Yeah. And Tony says it's very subjective. A classic for one person won't be for another. That's what I was trying to sort of say as well, because I think that is true. I'll go, oh, that's a classic, and somebody's going, you what? What? It's as I say, it's a definition of what classic means.
Because some people will turn around, right? They'll start a conversation and say, Scum. That was a classic film, and you go, hey. Scum. Tell me about Scum. Why is that a classic film?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know. I watched it. It was of a period of a time. Great character acting. It had violence in it. It was the first film I saw where somebody's head was, beaten in or whatever. And everything that they say is there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. I mean, some people would consider a classic film as the film that they used to sit down and watch with their granddad.
Exactly.
Oh, that's the definition. That's classic. That is, because I remember watching that with my granddad. My granddad used to make it our film to watch on a Sunday, and all of this sort of stuff. Every film really has the potential to be a classic. It's all it's the luck of the draw. Media, I think, have very, very limited influence on what will make a classic a classic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't believe just because a film's won an Oscar that it's a classic.
That's a very good point.
I can look at certain films that have won Oscars and I go, can't bear it.
Yeah.
I have no idea why people talk about that, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And that could be my short-mindedness. I'll put my hands up and say, look, I'm not always right. To me, a classic is something that holds my impression, years later, or I can remember a scene in it, like as if I was watching it happening in my garden. You know what I mean? Right now. You know what I mean? Classic is a different word. Classic in films. I'll narrow it down to films. Classic in films has a different meaning for every person.
Yeah,
I don't get taken by a VHS tape that says the classic collection and it says the Irish.
Yeah, that's one they use a lot. Yeah,
the Irishman. Because I'd turn around and say, what makes that the classic collection? What's the reason this is in the classic collection? Right?
Yeah.
Right. You might as well turn around and say every film that's in the Criterion collection is a classic collection.
They will say that.
That's all they show is classic films, right? And I'm going, what's so classic about some of them?
Yeah.
Who made that? It's thing. It's just that they bring out older films, and older films are now dubbed classic. And not every old film is a classic.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a definition of what word classic means. That's what it's all about. Yeah.
Classic cars. I mean, this is why I don't go down the route of classic cars. People will tell me. So I said, was my I was going to say something then. I don't know whether I should.
But you see, I'm guilty of it. I use that word classic because I'm always going classic Doctor Who. But it's, to me, it's like saying it's differentiating old Doctor Who from the new Doctor Who. That's why I use that term, I think.
My dad had a Humber Zepter car.
Yeah.
Right. The Humber Zepter car is well known for having a lever in the car called overdrive, which turned out to be the fifth gear in a car later on. Right. It's considered a classic. Right. If you were to ask Clarkson, it'd say it's classic if it's got badge Ferrari, Bugatti, like that on it. That is not considered a classic. And they'll turn around and say, yeah, the Princess. Is the Princess a classic car now? You know what I mean? The Hillman Imp. Is that a classic car? It's old. I'll give it that. You know what I mean? Chitty Chitty Bang Bang's a classic car.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Only car I know that flies well. Anyway, carry on.
Right. Tony says, a relatively modern watch this week, The Last Legion 2007, with Colin Firth and Ben Kingsley, set at the time of Rome's withdrawal from Britain. That sounds a good one. Not brilliant, but quite entertaining. Yeah. The invasion by the Romans of Britain was perhaps one of the most important things to ever happen in our history. Yeah. It defined what we became as a nation. Whatever anybody tells you, the invasion of the Romans was a very important thing for our country. And it's
by the way, that's where that warrior queen is.
Yeah. And even though I'd say 1066 was a massive, important moment for our country, you can still argue that the Roman invasion was
when the Romans left us. When the Romans left us, just look what happened to Hadrian's Wall.
Yeah,
that was built to separate. It was the policeman's wall.
Yeah.
And when they left, what happened to it? Never got maintained.
No.
Fell to bits.
And they call them the Picts and the Scots. I don't know who the Picts are. They always said the Picts and the Scots. So whoever they were, they went round pinching bits of the wall. There's some bricks here. Oh, I could do with a bit of brick. And off they went. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, we better start going through these questions. Right. I'll tell you what, they've just asked a Doctor Who question that's going to annoy you.
Reeves and Mortimer are a personal favourite double act. I just love their punk humour. Yeah, Yeah, I know people do love that. And now we'll move on. Reeves and Martin had some brilliant catchphrases and weird characters. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Oh.
You wait till you get to the Doctor Who question. Shit.
Rick Mail and Adrian Edmondson. How could I forget them? Yeah, they were
the dangerous brothers. I used to love them as the dangerous brothers.
I think you mean Eddie Brabham, the head writing partner of Morecambe and Wise. Yeah, is that. Two Ronnies work well together. Indeed, that's
met in a cafe. Ronnie Corbett was a waiter.
Yeah. He says never found Hale and Pace particularly funny. I think I agree with you. I was never into Hale and Pace, definitely. And then what's better, the Phantom Raspberry Blower of London Town or the Worm That Turned? Two great stories by the two Ronnies. I have to say, Phantom Raspberry Blower of London Town. I love that one. Oh,
you can't separate them, but because you've chosen the Phantom Raspberry Blower, I'll choose the Worm That Turned.
Yeah,
just to make it fair,
great, aren't they?
Because to be quite honest, they were both Ronnie Barker creations under his pseudonym as well. He wrote those under his pseudonym. What was it called? What was his name? Oh, his pseudonym was...
I don't know.
Oh, he wrote the Four Candles sketch, and he's famous. I'm gonna have to look. I will have to look that up now because it was some Ian Alvery or something. He gave himself a name. Ronnie Barker. Alter. There you go. I think. Well, I don't know where. Some Wiley. There we are. Gerald Wiley.
Oh, right.
So he wrote just so he didn't hurt his partner Ronnie Corbett.
Yeah.
They wrote scripts and they passed them to each other, and then if they both laughed, they'd do it, right? So he wrote the Four Candles sketch and he passed it to us. Said, "Oh, we've got another one. Look, from this Gerald Wiley guy. What do you think of this one?" And Ronnie Corbett, would say, "Oh, it's absolutely brilliant." So, "Oh, I was going to chuck that one out, but yeah, I can see the funny side of it." And then they did it. You see?
Yeah.
And it took them 2 years to work out that Gerald Wiley was actually Ronnie Barker. He was just not confident enough in his own writing sometimes, and he needed to have a filter, a gag, a gagging thing. Otherwise, he would overpower everything, wouldn't he? Because it would be all his writing.
Yeah. Yes.
What a nice thing to do.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Sai says, I know Al Pacino's brother, Cappuccino. Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Sai, that tops mine, that one. Sea Cruise. There you are.
For me, it's Phantom Raspberry Blower. Don't remember much about Worm.
I had Diana Dawson, Ronnie Corbett, and Ronnie Barker. They were what were they called? Harold and Frank or something. Yeah. They all went around. They all went around in dresses, doing all the women's things. Yeah. Because now the women were the controlling element of the whole of Britain. Women went and did all the jobs. They grew beards. They had names like Frank and Tony and all that sort of stuff. It was the worm that turned, basically.
Yeah.
Right. Where are you going?
Sorry, I went out of sync. It went totally out of sync. So I'm just going back.
You gotta go well up.
Yeah.
You haven't even got to Sandra yet.
There
we are. It's the bit that says Leah Remini from the King of Queens at 9:52.
Oh, 9:52. Right. Yep. So look. 9:40. 9:52. Yeah, there. That's it. Yeah. King of Queens. Yeah. I've never seen that one.
That was
I
about
know it was on.
Scientology. That was about Scientology.
Yeah. And then
again correcting me.
Yeah. We've got Sandra Clark. Hello, all. Welcome to our chat. I'm so excited getting my Switch 2 tomorrow. Anyone else pre-ordered one?
It is a gaming one. It's one I answered at the beginning, didn't I?
Yeah.
I said I'll probably get buyer's remorse. I've not got buyer's remorse at the moment. But I tell you what, the world is sort of like going mad, saying, "Oh, if you haven't ordered one, it's going to be like June 13th before you can pick up one." I'm saying that's a week later. Why am I upset that I wouldn't get it a week later? But then again, I'm older. If I back in the day, if I hadn't got a day one console, I was pissed off. I wanted to get home and wanted to unwrap the thing and start playing it. Now, if I was to get that, it'd probably stay in the box and I wouldn't get to go on it until the weekend. It's like, well, it was a bit of a waste, really. And then there's no way that I might be able to, because I've got a sick mother. My life has changed, and it's one of those things where, you know, I'm really happy that people are going to be very happy on Thursday. Apparently, Smith's, the toy store, is opening its doors midnight tonight for you to pick it up tomorrow. There are people that are going to be absolutely queuing out there. They'll get that. They'll unbox it. It'll be on YouTube tomorrow as an unboxing at 2 a.m. I bet you anybody, 2 a.m. there'll be unboxing videos coming up on YouTube for the people that when they get up at 9 o'clock in the morning and waiting for their order to come through, these people have already opened it and ruined it for you. You know what I mean? It is a big event, and I wish I was excited about being in that big event. I do think that the pricing's wrong for the way we are at the moment. It's a £395 handheld. You know what I mean? It's the same. I got the same sort of sticker shock when iPhone told me that their first phone was going to be over £1,000. I went, for what? The phone, £1,000. What the bloody hell? When it went up to £1,000 for a phone, I was like, "Well, that's ridiculous. Nobody's going to buy that." Turns out I was totally wrong. Everybody went out and bloody bought it. You know what I mean? So I was in the wrong then. I'm in the wrong probably with the Switch 2. But if you bought the Switch 2 and you bought a game, one game, you're in the £450 mark. £450. You don't even get a game with it. You have to buy it, and it's 85 quid. You know what I mean? So I didn't pre-order it, and it's the first time I haven't pre-ordered a day one console. So I'm really excited for Sandra, because I want to. If Sandra's got a channel, by the way, Sandra, if you've got a channel, please let us know. I'm interested. I want to see your excitement. I tell you what, the one thing that cheers me up at Christmas is when I send a present to someone and I see their face when they open it up, because I know I've changed their life. You know, I've given them something that they'll really enjoy. You know what I mean? So I like to see people's joy on their face when they go, "Oh, I'm so excited!" And when they open it up, they're still excited. And when they play their first day, they go, "Oh, I'm gonna be on this all week." I'm with them. I'm with them on you know, with their excitement for it. I'm going, "Oh no, I haven't got one. Oh, I want one now. I'm in buyer's remorse." But with my mum, I can't.
Yeah. Right. We've got Tony saying hi, Sandra. And then we've got hello, Tony York. Sandra says, sorry, Sandra, not a gamer. No, I'm not. That's why I've been quiet. I don't know. Hope you enjoy it, Tony says. Thank you, Sandra says. And then Si says, Elijah Wood in the remake of Maniac is the film seen through the killer's eyes. Oh, yeah. My dad can't watch films with subtitles. but he's got dyslexia, so he has to pause the film every 30 seconds to read it. Wow, that's going to take a long time.
This is
Yeah,
what I was sort of like getting
yeah,
at, really.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, there's people that don't want to read something, and then there's people who
yeah,
can't. Would love to.
yeah, yeah. Sandra says Christopher Reeve was the best Superman. It's just very sad what happened to him.
Yeah, it is.
It's extremely sad. Yeah, yeah. And Tony says yes, remakes very rarely improve on the originals. Yeah, that's very true as
I
well.
would say that. Yeah.
Just to prove a point, a pre-1980 film, another watch this week, The Pride and the Passion, 1957, with Cary Grant, Sophia Loren, and Frank Sinatra, set in Napoleonic France, occupied Spain. Now that's interesting because Frank Sinatra immediately sticks out. I have never seen Frank Sinatra in a historical film, apart from, it depends what you call historical. There's war films, say, like in Ryan's Express, but him in Napoleonic France, it's interesting. It's just the thought of him.
I mean, if you look at that cast, you'd go, yeah, I want to see that. Cary Grant, Sophia Loren, you go, yeah, Frank Sinatra, yeah, oh right, okay. And then you look at it and he goes, Napoleonic France, eh?
Yeah, I know, amazing.
He's more the cool cat from Vegas, isn't he? I mean, what's that?
Absolutely fascinating, though. That would be a great film.
What did we say about John Wayne and Genghis Khan? I mean,
oh yeah. No, Genghis Khan. That's always brought up, or rather, it shouldn't be.
Well, because it's definitely a mouse in a cat world, isn't it?
Yeah.
You wouldn't expect.
Yeah. This is that bit what you mentioned before from Sandra. Delboy, I know you're liking space series. Did you know that Francis Hancock died?
Well, I just knew that Sandra was probably not going to be around, so I wanted to make sure that something. Just went,
and if you're going to watch Wes Anderson for the first time, I suggest Rushmore as an entry level film. All right,
I've seen Rushmore.
Yeah. Loretta Swit, yes, from MASH, passed away last week.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Film of that, and I did see some of the TV series, but not. I wasn't really one who watched it a lot. The film was a bit different, wasn't it, from the TV series?
Yes, it was.
She's in both. I remember seeing the film. TV series was one that you dipped in and out of. It was on. I remember. Was it on BBC Two, possibly? And it was.
Yeah, but it was a huge event in the States, but probably because of the Vietnam War.
Yeah,
it was actually being broadcast.
Yeah.
For me, the film I remember more than the TV series, to be quite honest. Was it Alan Alda that was in the TV series?
Yes, Alan Alda.
Yeah. I suppose because the film is a compact version of something.
Yeah,
I can remember it more than a 11 or 12 series, 22 episodes of series with canned laughter type thing.
Yeah.
I remember all of the hoo-ha. When you do a documentary about comedies, it's always there as being the number one that got the biggest audience ever.
Yeah.
The final show. I think it took something like 15 years for it to be toppled.
Yeah.
It was something like Cheers, his last episode, I think beat MASH or something, and it took 20 years before you could actually beat. And you've got to turn around and say 20 years, and yet how the population has grown in 20 years. That's two generations. And you think at that particular time, not every household had a telly in its. They must have counted in pubs that were watching in it and all sorts of stuff to get a figure that big.
Yeah.
So now, we're talking at a time where TVs were luxuries.
Yeah.
Still. You rented them because you couldn't afford them.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Sandra says, "Oh no, Hot Lips." Yeah, she was
Yeah,
Hot
Hot
Lips,
Lips.
of course. Yeah, yeah. Um, that'll be Tony Hanholt, I think.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Space 99 and Protectors. I remember him from that posh soap from the 80s, Howard's Way.
Howard's Way.
He played a rich businessman. Posh soap. Oh
So
dear.
you remember I said about him, I said he was the guy that was in the Protectors. He was sort of like black haired,
Yeah.
handsome, suave
Yeah.
type fellow. I can never I find it sometimes difficult for my recurrent memory to bring back a name.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I got it right. I mean, I was talking about the right guy. You know, he was going out with Meyer. He kept trying to go out with Meyer. He kept trying to get everybody on Space 99 pissed. That's all I remember him for. Being handsome and trying to get everyone drunk. That's it.
I think I like this one, what Si says. I know what he means. He goes,
Sting.
Sting is my favourite film because it reminds me of my granddad. He sat me down one night that I was staying there. He told me, now this is a film. It's the simple things like that make it special.
Exactly.
I totally understand that. Yeah. Totally agree. I can say
that is possibly the best way to explain it, because as I said about classic stuff, it could be a simple thing. Yeah. Because I remember my granddad sat me down and said, "Oh, you're going to watch this with me." We didn't have a film that every time I went round we watched the same film, because it was at a time where video recorders weren't in everybody's living room when he died. He died in 1980, my granddad. Yeah. And I was only 11 years old, something like that. But you know, there are, what I'm trying to say now is there are those people that have those types of memories.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I mean, if you were born in the 80s, you know, you're in your 40s.
Yeah.
You know, 50s now. I mean, I'm in my 50s. I was probably born 12 years before, 15 years before a video recorder was considered okay to have in your living room. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, I remember my granddad. He was all westerns because he was brought up in that era when film westerns were massive.
Remember what I told you, that my dad introduced me to all the spaghetti, the Ennio Morricone albums, because he loved westerns.
And then, of course, he liked the TV westerns. So you had the Virginian and High Chaparral.
The gun. What was it? The Gunsman? Or is it the Gunsman or something?
There was Gunsmoke.
The Rifleman. Is it the Rifleman? Is it?
Yeah, I remember Gunsmoke as well. There were.
I was just trying to think. You know, the one where you see only the body and the bloke twirling a gun, and it's called the Rifleman or something like that. Black and white. I think that was one.
I think it's easy to remember how films go in and out in cycles, and at one time the Western was just massive, wasn't it? It was.
Oh, I remember the Lone Ranger, Champion, the Wonder Horse.
Yeah, everywhere, anything connected with Westerns. And
I used to go into a toy store and then have a modeling kit of Champion the Wonder Horse, or you know, whatever it is, an action figure of Tonto and
Lone Ranger was popular, all that stuff.
It was because it was the BBC showed those during the summer holidays on a loop, along with the Banana Splits. And, and the Robin. It's where I fell in love with Robinson Crusoe.
Yeah,
you know, the 13-part adaptation of Robinson Crusoe with that famous music, which I've got the score of. Absolutely lovely. Marlin did the score to that. Gorgeous. That is.
Right. Here we've got Tony saying, as you mentioned, Maurice Jarre.
Maurice Jarre, yeah.
I watched Behold a Pale Horse, 1964 this week, with Gregory Peck, Anthony Quinn, and Omar Sharif, set in post-Civil War Franco Spain. The music is by Jean and was very reminiscent of Dr. Zhivago, the music.
I'd agree with that. It's got excerpts.
Yeah.
Very reminiscent. I've got Maurice Jarre scores, back there.
Yeah.
They when I got into Maurice Jarre, it was because of the Lawrence of Arabia. They were actually coming out on CD under the Silver label, Silver Screen. Don't know if anybody remembers Silver Screen, but they used to bring out all old stuff, like that used to be hanging around, like Barry Gray scores, from Jerry Anderson's stuff, and all of that sort of stuff. And Maurice Jarre, they got new orchestras to play the music, but it was from the original transcripts. And I bought the end of Silver Screen soundtracks. Yeah, that brings back a happy memory. Thank you.
Oh, well, that's good.
That's the first time I'm going to say thank you to you bastard. Anyway.
Now, this is the question. Yeah, I thought we would get this question. And here it is. It's from Sai. It says,
yes,
the Doctor Who question. Is it true that Billy Piper is the new Doctor? Now, I've not seen the episode, but I've seen I keep seeing this bit. Everywhere you go, you get the same bit, a smiling face. That actually Billy Piper looks very different. I didn't even recognize it was Billy Piper, to be honest. If you'd have just shown that picture and I didn't know, I'd be going, oh, who's that? Anyhow, what can I say? Russell T Davies. All I've got to say, it's just...
What did I tell? By the way, I've got to check on my mum, but I will be back in 5 minutes after he's had his rant. I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Okay. What? I mean, really, what has this got to do with Doctor Who? Really, it's just, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. A former companion suddenly becoming the Doctor like that, or with the face of the Doctor. And why is it put there? I do not know. It baffles me now. I mean, I haven't really watched any of this. I'll be honest. I've given up on Doctor Who, but you couldn't help but see that, and I thought it kind of sums it up. Please rest it now. And as far as what I've heard, it has been cancelled. Hopefully, it has been given a rest, as the BBC might put it in a language. There won't be any for a few years, because BBC is saying that I think Disney now have finished their funding of Doctor Who, and it's back in the hands of the BBC. So please, BBC, give it a long rest and don't have anything to do with Russell T Davies again. Keep him well out of anything. Let him go and do his thing wherever he wants. But please, it was the most ridiculous idea to get him involved again. It worked the first time, yes, but this time it was unleashed and he could do whatever he wanted. And he did. He ruined the program, absolutely ruined it. And, you kind of, in a way, Ncuti Gatwa, I suppose you could argue it's not his fault with the scripts and everything, but I don't know. He represents everything of that era, and I'd given up on it. I really had enough. So hopefully now this will be forgotten about. It'll just get a long rest, and then they can just restart it again like they did in 2005. Pretend this never happened. Just start again.
Yeah, hang on, you haven't answered the question.
Yeah, but it's implying she's the new Doctor. People have been examining it and saying this and that. So from what I gather, I didn't watch the episode, but just seeing this clip, it doesn't say introducing the new Doctor or anything like that. It says Billy Piper. So he's thrown that in, as he would, and which really gets on my nerves about the whole Russell T Davies.
He's actually gone out of his way. I think he knows that he's on his last breath.
Oh yes,
right,
definitely.
And he's gone. He's bookended the show.
Yeah.
Right, because Billie Piper was in the first one. She's now in the last one. It bookended it. We all know that regenerative energy means that the Doctor's got this regenerative energy that he keeps around with him for about 24 hours, which is why David Tennant grew a hand and all this sort of stuff. We know as well that he uses imagery to choose his face because he's actually used an image. That's why Peter Capaldi was in it. He remembered that he rescued somebody from Pompeii. There was a big moment in it, and basically he chose that. There's even the talk that the TARDIS entered Billie Piper, and the TARDIS remembered that face and gave it to the Doctor as a regenerative face, just to show as a face. But that doesn't mean it's the final phase. And you got to remember there's the Romana incident where she went through about 5 or 6 different bloody bodies and faces and all that sort of stuff. And really, what Russell T Davies wanted to do was, I'll get everybody talking for a week.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Because it will be, we're talking for a week.
Yeah.
Right? Do I want it to go on a long break? I think it would do it good, but I've never wanted a Doctor Who fan to ever say that in their life.
Yeah, I would have said that.
I remember the years between Sylvester McCoy and Paul McGann, and it was a bloody drought.
Yeah. But
we have now though got Big Finish, and we do also have a show that's not got Doctor Who in the title, but is in the sort of Doctor Who universe that's going to be coming out. Yeah, and it looks interesting because they showed an advert for it. I would like them to do this personally. Pitch Disney and don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Right. Go back to the same budget that you had in the original days, which was perfectly fine. I like those effects.
It
Nothing
was
wrong with them, to be honest. I haven't seen anything really in the special effects of these that make me go,
some people have been saying, where have they spent the money? People have been saying that. Where has the extra money gone? Because it just shows you how good
I will say that please, BBC, why don't you hold a forum of people that were in the Doctor Who Appreciation Society and all of the magazines and people that followed it on Big Finish and all of that sort of stuff, right? And also have a forum of people that have watched it now that really enjoy it now.
Yeah.
Get those points across on what they liked.
Yeah.
But get rid of Russell T Davies and get somebody to look at that and then come up with the 50-50.
Yeah.
I don't like, but I'm old, this it's a woman, gay, pronouns, all of that sort of stuff. It's alienated me as a fan. And that does not make me a bad person or a racist. I'm sorry, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I like to, when I go to science fiction, think I'm on a different world and that I'm following somebody that has got morals, that looks at it all, but doesn't throw it in your face and has to think twice about whether he calls somebody a he or a she or something on a foreign planet and all of this sort of stuff, right? I mean, I don't want my doctor to pull a coin out of his pocket and say, oh, sorry, I can't give you this 50 pence because it's got a girl on the back, right? Can't have that. It's got a queen's head. It's got to have a queen and a king because you got to have them equal. All of this shit. I don't want that sort of shit. Or that being brought into my twin world living, you know, some people that love above are men and the people that are below are women and all of that sort of stuff. We have past all that. Yeah. But you can write good science fiction without it.
Why do you have to have by generation? What a load of bollocks.
Oh, they've even talked about the fact that the reason that Ncuti Gatwa and all of that sort of stuff can go is that they kept saying that he was the original Doctor and that the David Tennant one that's been left behind after the 60th anniversary is the remnants of a Time Lord and therefore will die in his normal age and all this sort of stuff. And somebody has turned around and said he could come back and be written that he was the original one. He didn't think that he was. and yet he's just found out that he is, and all of that other stuff that we watched was all just a little enclosed time capsule for us to watch. While the original Doctor was on Earth, like John Pertwee, having his own little adventures, and they're going to start that off. And I'm going, oh, what a bad idea! Oh my god! Oh, you're gonna say that was a pocket of time, and that this Doctor was on Earth, and it's going to be like John Pertwee. You're going to have David Tennant doing like Canine and Company and all that sort of stuff. No, what a terrible idea!
No,
I even heard somebody say that. Anybody that knows, both me and Ian are both equal great Doctor Who fans.
Yeah.
By the way, did I mishear you? Did you say Planet of Fire is a regeneration story?
Sorry?
Did you say in your Planet of Fire?
No, well, if I did, it was a mistake. It wasn't a regeneration. It's the.
Did he say that?
No, I don't think
remember
I did.
that being a regeneration story.
Did I say that? I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
I had a bad week. I don't know. I don't think I am.
No,
I know I was saying, it's Turlough's last story.
It's Turlough's last story.
I remember saying that.
You know.
Knowing the week I've had, I probably don't know where I am. So it wouldn't have surprised me if I made a mistake. But I know it's Turlough's last story.
But I will end it here.
Yeah.
Russell T Davies bookended. He's got the right to bookend something that he was brought in to do. He had this money and he had to do what he wanted to do, and he did it, right? But it's at the end of the day, it's a footnote. It's no more important than when Sylvester McCoy went off with, into the distance saying, let's go for a cup of tea, and walking towards the TARDIS and not seeing him for 8 years. As far as I'm concerned, you saw a face coming out of the regeneration energy,
and that was it.
I know why they put him up in space, and you see the regeneration with him nearly hanging out, and it looks like a star in space.
Oh God!
Right, because he looked at a star. He actually said, "Look at that star over there. It's probably going to be brought into the star of Jesus Christ or something." That's what the three kings saw, or something. There will be some story that will say that regeneration was seen by this many millions through telescopes, through time, and all sorts of stuff.
Is there going to be a Christmas special then?
Well, no, nobody knows. Nobody knows. I don't think there will be.
No.
I think the BBC will show not a season of Doctor Who next year. It will be this season of what they've made, this special show that's called Between the Sea and the
there's that one. Yeah.
And what people were expecting was that while that's being shown, they're making the new Doctor Who. That's where I think that won't happen.
That's right.
But after Disney's break and after the revenue has come in for that, because BBC get revenue from that spin-off from the DVDs and the stuff, as well as the money that they'll get for the second season, they probably will have enough money to either have by that point found somebody to do it like Netflix, or they will go down this route and they will hopefully find somebody to front runner the show back to, I think, closer to classic if possible. But again, they could go down the route of having Billy Piper. The thing about it is by that point, Billy Piper will have aged by another 2 years.
Yeah.
And the thing I look at about it is that, and I don't want to be sexist about this, but men do age differently than women. And you've got this face of Billy Piper now on our channels looking like she does there. And in 2 years' time, she will not look like that.
Yeah.
I don't care. She won't.
Yeah. I don't care that they can ignore it. They can
ignore
all that. It just can start again. You can do it. You can do it. There's no problem.
For all we know, every time that we've had that regenerative energy and he's got his hands up and all of that sort of stuff, underneath all those flames, a million faces are being flashed across. We don't see it because it's covered.
And people should remember that when Christopher Eccleston started, we never saw his regeneration. They did put it in as a sort of thing in a special thing later on they did something, but we never saw the Doctor regenerating. So I think it shows you don't have to show the regeneration. I know we loved it's part of the mythology.
I would have preferred it that the regeneration was still going on and the titles came up.
Yes, so you could just.
But I know for a fact that Russell T Davies wanted to bookend it. He does not. I think he's the type of person that says, "I opened it, I closed it. I've got an opener, I've got an ender."
Yeah.
Now, so it wouldn't even be retconning it if that wasn't the final face and you're having it, because you saw the face. So as far as he's concerned, he's got the bookend that he wanted.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's just to get people talking, Si. I'm sorry, but no.
Yeah.
In my mind, Billy Piper is not the new Doctor.
No, it's not going to happen. No, it's not going to happen.
I think it will be just a footnote at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's not sour grapes, me saying that.
I think the enthusiasm has been drained away to produce it, to be honest.
And a lot of people are also saying, who gives a shit?
Yeah. And also I know it's obvious that people are not totally deaf or can't see in the BBC, and they must know that the comments from the fans. You can't tell me that they pretend that they don't know the comments from the fans, and they will know what the fans think. And I think that's what they've got to take into account.
I do wish Doctor Who magazine would just step in and basically say, this is where you need to go, or speak to Big Finish or some other producers in there that have only done audio press. At the end of the day, Jerry Anderson wanted to do films for so many years. He finally got to do live action with Space 1999 and all of that sort of stuff. Big Finisher probably would do live action, right?
Yeah.
There's probably people in the wings in there that have done so many audio plays and been with all the classic actors and all of this sort of stuff, and just waiting for them to be promoted to a production of a major TV show.
Yeah.
That would be totally suited because they are a fan. They've produced audio stuff. They've heard all of the stories that are going on there. Know what's good, know what's bad. Bang.
Yeah.
And go in a direction that's new because they bring a new face to it.
Ultimately, the problem is, dare I say it, the BBC are going to cling onto it as long as they exist.
Of course they will.
But notice I said as long as they exist in their present form, because as we know, the BBC is going to be gone in its present form in the future.
That's right.
So
they've got 2 years. They've got 2 years.
Yeah, it's all going to change.
Funnily enough, it's 2 years when they reckon it will be another. If they were to even start now filming, it'd take 2 years to get to it. So that's when the BBC would be under something looking something new.
It'll be different.
But what I'd like, the reason they're going to hold on to it, it's quite easy to understand this. It's not about the figures. I keep turning around and saying to people, I don't know why people keep turning around and saying, oh, look, they've lost another 600,000, blah, 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 blah. That's not the rod that shows a good show. Not anymore. Viewing figures
people don't watch live TV.
I'd love it if you looked at the physical media sales.
Yeah.
And merchandise sales, and what is the top show that the BBC come out with that sells the most?
Yeah.
And if you look at that, you will find that I'm pretty sure Doctor Who has been reigning up there since it first came out on VHS.
They make a lot of money out of it.
It's beaten Only Fools and Horses sales. It's beaten Faulty Tower sales. It's beaten the Life of Brian and Monty Python and everything else, right? All the way along. And they get a revenue from that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And they are not going to get the license taken away from them from that show.
It's a cash cow.
While they can get some. They don't get it all because it's a separate entity. BBC Enterprises is different to BBC TV.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is they get revenue from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyhow, we could go
I
on.
think it's because they own the logo. I
Yeah.
think it's because they own the logo, actually.
Yeah.
Anything that's got that logo, they get money on.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't watch it, Simon, but I've seen reports that she is now. But no, it's all.
No.
Don't worry about it. When the Romans left Adrian's Wall, it turned into Wall's End, a complete shit tip. Okay. Wall's End. And then Sandra says, Hale and Pace never made me laugh.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. And then Gerald Wiley. That's
it's Gerald Wiley, not Gerald.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And Gerald, sorry, cannot edit. And then she says, I hated not the 9 o'clock news comedians for insulting the two Ronnies.
Oh. Wow. Yeah. What happened was Ronnie Barker was approached by, was it Ben Elton? Show.
Oh, yeah, Ben Elton was the writer, wasn't he?
Yeah, famously. Yeah. And Ronnie Barker sort of like dismissed him or something. And Ben Elton never forgave for that or something, that he was his idol. But it's just that Ben Elton was part of that new wave of comedians.
Yeah.
And Ronnie Barker was in that situation where you're old hat, you're dying,
leave,
and took it personally. And I would as well. I mean, at the end of the day, he never physically stood up in front of them and said, "You guys are shit."
Yeah.
Because I think what it is that they considered Ronnie Barker and Ronnie Corbett to be more classy than that.
Yeah.
They have a class about them,
yeah.
Where we're above all that. We don't have to say you're bad to know that you're bad, And they did come from a different era. Yeah. And I did like the new comedians, a lot of them, but I also didn't like a lot of the new comedians. If I couldn't get into that, what's his name? Who was in the Young Ones? What's his name? He acted like he was a Russian or something. I
know the one, the bloke. He thought he was a Marxist comedian.
Marxist, and all Trotskyism and all of this sort of stuff.
Yeah, it was dreadful. I think. Alexei Sale.
Yeah, that's Sale. Yeah. And I never really got into him until I saw him in a James Bond film where I thought he was funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So all I'm saying is that it's a shame because a lot of things went. Terry and June went and all this.
I think there was a feeling.
It was the end of them, really. But why end the career of Tony? Terry Scott, why? They didn't have to end the careers.
I think the two Ronnies had become such a fixture that people
were a target.
Had had enough of it. Maybe
they were a target.
It was an easy target. It was an easy target. Saying, "No, look, it's the two Ronnies again." How many years have they been doing the same? There's this sort of feeling going out on these younger comedians. They're just the same formula. It's just the same. I think it was almost like, it just become too familiar, and things have to change.
Safe. It was safe.
Yeah.
Safe comedy. It was. I saw it as well. Every time that there was these shows. They were middle class people. They lived in people with hallways, with church, with almost like stained glass window doors.
Yeah.
Take your shoes off when you come into the house. Blah 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 type thing.
Yeah.
I lived in a house where you walked in with your bloody muddy wellers. It gives a shit.
Yeah, that's right.
It was nice to have you in the house just to come in for a cup of tea. Really, as far as we were concerned. And there's these people that basically held I don't know clubs in village halls where you got people that made milk bottle top airplanes or something, right? This is the world that most of these BBC sitcom things lived in. And I didn't agree with it. But then again, you turn to the ITV and there was the rougher side. There was the people who had a comedy show based on milkman or postman or workman or whatever it was. The rougher side of things on the buses, all of that sort of stuff. So, it wasn't all stuffy.
Yeah.
It's probably why I've got a bigger sentiment for Man About the House, George and Mildred, Robin's Nest, than I do Terry and June, Ever Decreasing Circles. And all of that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah, I think
even The Good Life to me was playing it bloody safe.
You see, to me, it redeems itself when I think of Sorry.
Sorry, yeah.
It's Ronnie Corbett. It's Ronnie Corbett.
45-year-old man living with his mum.
Brilliant. It's a brilliant concept, and he's brilliant in it. Yeah. Absolutely think it's so suited to him. He couldn't have had a better program, and it was popular. People loved it.
It was nice.
People loved Ronnie
it was
Corbett.
Nice. It was nice also that Ronnie Barker had so many shows that he'd done. The character actor that Ronnie Corbett actually at least got to the end of his life knowing that he was in a show that also was equally as successful without his partner.
It was good that
because I don't think Ernie Wise could turn around and say that.
No.
When Eric Morecambe went,
that was it.
I only ever saw him on things like Give Us a Clue and all this sort of stuff. I never really saw him on anything other than chat shows and stuff. And yet this was a guy that that was was there before Eric Morecambe doing stuff on the stage. He was a song and dance man. And Eric Morecambe was the sort of like standing person who can't sing, can't dance. He actually had an act where he acted as a child, didn't he, with a big lollipop and a balloon or something. And it was his mother that joined the two up together during the war, wasn't it? But there you go.
And here we've got Rufus Williams. Hello, Rufus. Dame Edna Legend, laugh out loud.
Edna Everage. Well, did you ever get used to all of the different? Because he had that. I've got to be honest. That used to spit water all the time.
I never got into him. It's just one I just never related to him.
I did like some because I used to like it when he used to have Madge with the badge or something, and he used to put a badge on them or something.
Yeah. There's one where he was never a huge out all the time. And
I forgot what his name was, but he used to spit water out, and he was supposed to be a producer or something.
Yeah, I didn't really get on. And then we've got Sandra saying, I have to go now. It was nice talking to you all. Bye-bye for now. Thank you so much for joining us, Sandra.
That's why I tried to get some of her questions answered before, so she got
Thank you, Sandra. And then Tony says, good night, Sandra. Night, Sandra. Sai says, Rufus, well, okay, it's a Switch review.
Oh, right.
I'm out.
Well, I did go on a mini rant, but I wanted to get something out for Sandra, really.
Yeah. And then he says, Baldy tell 4 Eyes shut from what's that? I have no idea what that is. Rufus be nice, but well. I'm only joking, but sorry if I offend.
Okay. I'm not offended.
No, I know. I never bought.
I have got 4 eyes. He's got a bald head. I've got 4 eyes. And I was talking about the Switch probably for a little bit of a long time.
We laugh at each other all the time. I laugh at myself. Nothing offends me.
I'm going to say this though, guys. Look, right at the bottom, right, and we do totally mean this because we were having a chat about this before we came on. It says, "Ask us anything."
Yeah,
it's not just films. It's not just TV. The chunk of it is if somebody wants to talk about a game or a console, and remember the console is coming out today. It is topical. Talk about it. I will know more about it than Ian, though.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not a gamer. I always say
if you were to, we are now at 3 hours and 13 minutes. And if you were to put everything that I put together about the Switch, including what I talked about at the beginning, which if you weren't here at the beginning, you'll know I talked about the Switch then. I took up 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Of 3 hours and 13. Was that really a lot?
Yeah.
I don't think so, personally. And most people know when I rant, I'm only joking.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's a persona.
Yeah.
It's something to say.
We like having a good
spark.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, I think actually we probably talked about Doctor Who longer than we did the Switch.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we as you might have guessed, we both love Doctor Who.
We love Doctor Who.
Yeah.
We love you, Si. We love you, Tony Jones, Tony York. We love you, Muckman.
This is interesting. I have all the Rawhide Western series on DV. Clint Eastwood's first big break.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
do you know what I get? Do you know what I get from that? At least I know where they're going to end up.
Yeah, and this is interesting. That's true. He says, wasn't it Clint Eastwood's 95th birthday last week? 95.
I think it was. I'm not totally sure on that, but they had a lot of documentaries on last week, and ITV showed a hell of a lot of product.
Unbelievable
on ITV2. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I hope people just give him peace and don't bother him, and just let him be. That's what they should do. It's same with Jack Nicholson. You don't want him to be bothered. Just leave them alone. Just leave them.
He left the world of cinema and said, "I've had enough," didn't he?
Yeah. And Clint, he's the same. I mean, he's given such a lot to film. Just leave him now. Let him have his retirement. Yes, I saw that. Must be one of the last true legends left. There are not many. Yeah. Ty says he definitely is Tony Hawk. I've heard that he's prepared to direct another film. Really? He'll die in the director's chair, I'm guessing.
I did hear that he's not finished directing.
Wow.
I didn't know whether he was talking about films or he might do documentaries. He's done a number of documentaries just recently, and he's been executive producer on them.
Yeah, because you sent me that film, Jury something. What was it called that he directed? Well, it was a pretty good film as well.
Juror number 2.
Yeah, that was
Juror 2.
Yeah, that was a good film. He directed that, didn't he? Yeah. Must be made of strong stuff to direct a film at 95. I agree. You would have to be.
Yeah.
And then Tony says, Alexei Say. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Alexei Say. I always thought that when the two Ronins ended, it was the end of the variety cabaret show. If you get what I mean, I know what you mean by that.
It
was like.
Do you remember when it was announced? He announced it a year before to Ronnie Corbett because he wanted to give his partner a year to work out what they were going to do. I remember the Radio Times of the last Christmas special for Tony for the two Ronnies, and it was a Hansel and Gretel type cover. It was sort of like Pinocchio. Was it? Did they do Pinocchio or something as their last Christmas show? It was the last two Ronnies production where Ronnie Corbett was Pinocchio, Ronnie Barker was Giuseppe or whatever it was. If you have a memory and what I've just said is true, then it must have been an event. Yeah, that's all I've got to say. Yeah. So I love the two Ronnies.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was the end of an era. When that ended, it was just the change had happened. It's called evolution. It's what happens.
Yeah,
nothing stays the same. You run in cycles in TV shows and TV series. They go in cycles, and that's it.
Yeah.
Now, Celeste Patterson, Australian cultural attaché to the Court of St. James. In fact, that's the one with the spluttering.
Yeah, Celeste Patterson. Yeah.
Didn't Barry Humphries make a film called Les Patterson Saves the World? He probably did.
He did make a film, but I couldn't remember what it was called. Yeah.
And yes, I think so. I never seen it. And that's it. We're to the end now of all the comments. And thank you, everyone that has contributed and everyone that is watching and been watching. If you're watching this on a rewatch, thank you, everyone. And of course, thank you, Delboy, for being part of this. I really enjoyed it, even though I haven't been feeling as well. This has been good.
The one thing that I've been trying to do all evening is because before we came on, and I know that my friend is not very well, I tried to get a laugh. I tried to make him smile.
Yeah,
I know. I know that I'm probably pushing that, and it probably shows I'm forcing it. I'm not a generally funny guy, but I do know that sometimes I can make you smile and laugh. And if that makes me look stupid, then fair game.
Yeah.
I would rather have a person that's not very well laugh at something, and I look stupid about it. I don't care. For me, at the moment, I've got my ills with my mum. By the way, Si, thank you very much for that 99 guys. Great stream as usual. Tell Mrs. Dell that I'm asking about it. I did actually mention you. She did turn around and said, "How old are you, and are you single?" That's what my mum said. My mum said that. How old is he?
That's lovely.
And is he single?
Yeah.
Now, if that doesn't make you laugh, this is what I have with my mum.
Well then, 99 guys, great stream as usual. Tell Mrs. Dell that I'm asking how she is. There you are. Pass that on. And then we've got Tony saying, good night all. Best wishes to your mum, Dell, from Tony. Si says, and get well soon, Ian. Thank you. Yeah, I hope next week I'm back to normal. And then Tony York says, Sweeney Series 1 DVD incoming immediately. Ian. Oh. Wow.
He's he's a bastard.
Thank you.
He knows full well that I was on Jim Jam talking to him. He was there as well. Somebody came on and said the Sweeney Blu-ray box set comes out this week.
Oh yes, yeah.
And he was saying about his DVD. He's only got it on DVD, but he's going to be buying it on Blu-ray. And all he's doing is basically because he said I'll probably be sending that to you then, Del. And I ridiculed him all the way through Jim Jam. So he's now saying, "Yeah, sweet series number 1 coming to you now." Yeah, thanks. I get the joke, you bastard. Thank you very much.
Anyhow,
touche, and your loaf of bread. I'm still expecting it.
So. Let's just say our farewells as we normally do. Thank you, Delboy, as always.
It's good night. It's good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Good night, yeah. But we always say, I do my salute. Salute's from Frankie Howard, by the way. Salute.
And all I've got to say is, I'll see thee again.